This has been a fun new trick that OBS keeps pulling on me, with not having my monitor active right before I go trying to, well, yes, we're taste testing the oils, but don't worry, I'm making sure to stick to the hues and not the actual cadmium White Wolf. How are you doing today, my friend? How's everybody doing out there in Twitch land? I've had a very reflective day today. It's the sort of thing that everyone needs to do now and then. Take a look at what you're doing and ask some questions and kind of reconfigure your efforts. Romeo Void, it's good to see you. Pez Motion to Square, Wombat Combat Prime, and of course White Wolf. How are you fine people doing? Pez Motion dropping that Prime sub right on top of me, right out of the gate. Pez Motion, thank you so much for that, man. I really do appreciate your support, and Pez Motion, it is always fantastic to see you in chat. It is wonderful to see all of you fine people. We're going to be doing some oil painting today. Yeah, you know. It won't kill me immediately, White Wolf. That's what's important. Overheated and baked, because the city doesn't have air-conditioned buses yet. Yikes. That's going to be a yikes from me, dog. I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, OBS. Like, I'm using OBS Live, and it works so much better than Streamlabs did, but it still just has these little idiosyncrasies I haven't quite worked out yet. You think after doing this for as long as I have, I'd be like some kind of OBS expert, but that would require me, like, spending time on it. And it's one of those problems where I only think of it when it's already affecting me, and then I'm like, I'll deal with it later, and that doesn't happen. I've been working on a project for literally a year now. It's supposed to launch tomorrow, so today's the perfect day for one of our stakeholders to explain why it doesn't solve their problem. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Oh, man. You know, life would be great if it weren't for all these fucking people we gotta deal with, man. If it weren't for all of them. So, we got some work to do. We got some work to do today. And as I said in the Discord, we were going to do Warcaster today, but I'm just like I said, I had a very reflective day, and I'm kind of looking at my projects, and I've got too many projects started but not finished. And I know a few times I've said, we gotta finish stuff, we gotta finish stuff, we gotta finish stuff. Well, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is as best I am able. And we're just going to work on one thing at a time for a little while until that thing is done, and then move on to the next project. It's a novel concept, I know. Probably none of you have ever even heard of someone doing this. Finishing a task before moving on to the next task. Again, I should probably write a book. But in lieu of writing a book for tonight, let's paint some models. Oh, my camera's working? It should be. Okay, sometimes when I restart OBS, they don't. What is that sound called? In this song, they use that sound over and over. It's like a synth sound. It was really, really popular in the late 80s, early 90s. I can't describe it. I can't make a mouth sound quite like it. Hang on. We'll do it again. Now they're not going to do it. There has to be a name for the sound, and I want to know what it is. That one right there. Somebody help me out. That one. What is that? What is the name for it? I don't play music. I don't own a synthesizer. I'm sure it's something very simple. I just want to know what that sound is. Every time I hear that sound, you know what I think of? I think of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game, because it had that sound in it, like, constantly in the soundtrack. Not finishing a thing before moving on to the next thing is a side of ADHD. It's something I've been contemplating lately, is if I need to actually talk to my doctor about ADHD and get on, like, some kind of medication for it, because it's definitely a problem that I had when I was a kid. That's the one. Yes, Pez Motion. I was diagnosed with ADD when I was a child, and I was put on Ritalin for a while, but I moved away from it pretty quickly. And it's just been lately it's been hitting me really bad, and I'm wondering if it's something I should actually look into, or if it's just like, nah, I'm just kind of scattered. I don't know, I haven't decided yet. $18 months. Does this entitle you to some special privileges? Let me see. You get a, oh my god, I need to redo my subscriber badges. We have so many people over 1 year, and pretty soon we're going to be coming up on 2 years. I need to update those. Yeah, you get 2 Twitch babies. You get to name the second one. That's the privilege. Roland, you also get the privilege of remembering all the obscure shit that I want to say when I can't think of the names of literally any of it, so thank you so much for that. And you should be honored. Yeah, that's the other part of it, Datron Voltari, is it's like, on the one hand, do I have an actual problem? On the other hand, am I just a little scattered lately? So, before I do anything drastic or start to think that I have any kind of actual problem, I'm just gonna take a step back, we're gonna take a breather, we're gonna come back at the projects, and we're gonna try to focus on one until it's done. Because you know what? Last year, I did a better job at this. And since then, I've just been trying a lot of new things, starting a lot of new projects, and... yeah. You know, we've got solutions. I'm sure it's on a keyboard, Pez Motion, but I want to know the name of that particular sound. Like, what does it say in the manual when it's like, push this key to make this particular, or like, well, I'm sure there's, you know, many tones that you can do of that sound, but it has to have a name. There has to be nomenclature. And I have no idea what it is. Never finishing anything before starting another thing. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Like, if you go look at my Instagram, like, the last thing I finished was my Eternus Continuum, Skirmish Force for Warcaster, and since then, well, it's gone now, Vergaderung, the song ended. I'll point it out if it happens again. And since then, I've just been, like, getting little bits of a lot of projects done, and we're gonna cut that off. Speaking of which... let's get back to work on these men-at-arms. I'm pretty happy with how they're coming along. You have saltwater taffy. I'm genuinely jealous. I love saltwater taffy. When I was out in Monterey, I used to always go get fresh saltwater taffy. The fan on my printer's being a little bit of a bitch right now. If you hear that rattle, don't mind it. Oh, alright. Let's try a little bit of this permanent rose and see what it looks like. Hey, what's up, Merlin Models? How you doing today, man? Can we get a shout-out from Merlin Models? Relatively new streamer, really talented painter. Does some really pretty damn great work. Definitely a channel you want to go ahead and check out. How are you finding Twitch so far, Merlin? I think the bearing on the V2... yeah, I don't know what it is. Is the Ender 3 version 2 just cursed? Because it's not just us, Vergaderung. It seems like everybody I know, and maybe this is just confirmation bias, maybe there are lots of people out there who are like, the V2 is great, but everybody I know who has a version 2 has more problems with it than they have with others. And I can't figure out a reason for it. Mechanically, the version 2 isn't that much different from the base model Ender 3, but so many things keep going wrong with it. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, what could that problem even be? What could be causing that? So our oils have dried a little bit, and we're just going to go ahead and start slapping down some fresh ones right on top of them. A little bit of mineral spirits will reactivate it real nice-like. Hey, Rangoni, is good to see you. Merlin Models, I'm on my PC. If I'm not outside doing something, I'm generally on my PC, and if I'm on my PC, I'm looking for someone to at least lurk on. Lurk, in whose chat to lurk in. Is that good grammar? I don't know. Particularly if I'm trying to do some painting on my own, I need a stream going these days, just some kind of background noise. And yours is a very pleasant one to have on, and I like following your progress, man. Finding it fun, feel like I'm definitely making some mistakes, and want to find ways to allow people to feel more engaged, but honestly, as a way to motivate me to crack on with a hobby, it's great. Merlin models, yeah, it's very much my attitude towards it. I keep trying new things, and I definitely want to find more ways to get people more engaged with the stream, but I've been very, very lucky in that the chat here is generally very, very high quality. We have some great community members, and ultimately, I keep trying to remind myself, as much as I like to grow the stream, the whole purpose of it is to keep me painting. So as long as it does that, we're moving in the right direction. I think this rose actually makes a pretty good highlight for this real dark maroon I did on their reds. We're going to desaturate it a little bit with some white highlights in just a couple of minutes. Not too many. Not too many. This is one of my other resolutions today, is you know, since I've started painting with oils, and you guys have probably watched this happen, some of you I'm sure have noted it, I keep bumping up to like, oh, I want to do a really good paint job. I'm using oils. I should do a really good complex paint job. Use all these tricks. And it's like, that's not what I set out to do. I set out to do high quality, but still tabletop quality paint jobs using oils in a relatively short amount of time. And I have lost track of that goal. So we are reassessing. We are reapproaching. We're going to try to just get some decent work done without spending our entire lives doing it. Trotsky, how you doing today, man? I agree, streams are great to paint too. They're a fantastic resource. And the painting community here on Twitch has really taken off and grown a lot in the last year. I think that benefits all of us, because I like always have somebody to watch. The sheer number of painters we have on here, I almost always have somebody really high quality to watch, which is so fucking nice. Even a bad painting stream is pretty good, I gotta say. I can't think of many painting streams I've been in on the lower tier, relatively speaking, that I've been like, this sucks and I hate it. I can think of, like, gaming streams I've gone into and just thought, oh, this is insufferable, I'm out of here. If I'm really trying, I think I can think of, like, two. I can think of 2 paint streamers I've run into here on Twitch, where I watched for a few minutes and I was just like, no. No, we're not doing that. That was mostly just because the streamer seemed to be an idiot, which might strike you as an ironic problem to have for me. And if it does, you can shut up and keep your opinion to yourself. Oh, not at all, Project Dark Fox. You get a lot of really good work done in your streams, man. What is this about the streamer being an idiot? We're just you know, just talking. Definitely not talking shit, Waffles. How you doing today, man? We certainly weren't talking about Chaotic Harmony. That guy's not any bad things. Of course not. Yeah, I found that too, Datron. But I mean, like, the saturation is very different. There are so many game streamers and relatively so few paint streamers. There's a good number, but not as many by a pretty wide margin. And again, a lot of them popped up just in the last year. I only got on Twitch right before the major painting stream boom that has kind of hit. I was kind of on the tip of the spear, as it were. Oh, to be fair, though, there was a pandemic and a lot of us got stuck inside and we were like, I'm gonna stream. Had I not started just before the pandemic really kicked off, I probably would have shortly afterward. Little bits of that permanent rose red in there just to kind of liven things up a little bit. go overboard with this, but I want to provide a good base so I can do some quick, desaturated white highlights on it and give it that sort of worn fabric look. Because this part would be like a thick linen, potentially over some leather, but the fabric itself would be a linen. You know, within the context of reality as opposed to a fantasy universe where I guess it could be fucking anything. May have to start streaming now that you got a shout out. Waffles, oh my god. Yeah, no, I think that's actually a rule on Twitch. If you get a shout out, you have to start streaming. Like, I mean, I didn't make these rules. I will just enforce them. Yeah, we already knew that though, White Wolf. That sound is called a stab to square. Thank you so much for finding that out. That is one step closer to my life's ambition than I was when I started this stream. That being to make a song composed entirely of that sound. Why, you might ask? Well, I can't answer that. But eventually it's gonna happen. It's just because I've tried to describe that sound to people on more than one occasion in my life, which might strike you as odd, but it has happened. And, I never know the word. I'm like, it's the sound. It goes like, twing! And, you know, that's not really a good description. There's no onomatopoeia for that sound. Alright, see you in a minute, Vergatrung. Go ahead and have a sentence completely fail on takeoff real quick. No big deal. Alright, let's just try going straight to white. Just kind of working it up into a pink. And determined not to spend too much time on any one of these steps, we're just gonna roll right through it. Yeah, you've been doing a lot of Blood Ravens lately, haven't you, Merlin? I could totally understand that. Red's a tricky color, too. It's difficult to highlight red without winding up just straight painting orange or pink. In this particular case, I think the pink kind of works because we're looking at a fabric material. But for armor, you almost always wind up going either yellow or pink. Or orange, rather. Mixing in yellow, winding up with orange. Something that I've been trying lately, painting reds and acrylics, is in order to avoid having to go real high in my highlights and change color into orange or pink, I've been sort of painting in reverse. And starting with the highest red I want, a true red, and then working it down in the shadows and keeping my highest red as that initial red. Instead of using that as like a mid-tone to work up from. Let's just blend this in a little bit. Not too much, not too little. Just take the edge off a little bit. I think that looks decent. Yeah, let's move forward. Not getting too lost in the details today. At least that's the goal. Nope. I already did him. We'll move on to this guy. Zumatha, good to see you, man. You can find where I put my wiring tape. It's a good hack for me to try and do straight lines. Wiring tape like electrical tape? Masking tape is definitely a good option for doing straight lines. I don't know if I'd mask with electrical tape. That has a lot of real sticky adhesive to it that I don't think would end well. You have to forgive me tonight. I am a little bit low energy. Just got outside and worked my ass off yesterday, and then today I'm just like, oh, it's either streaming painting or just napping for like 4 solid hours. Opted for the painting because I've got work to get done. But I could wind up a little sleepy by the end of this. Riot Sister, how are you doing today? Welcome in.
Hello there.
How you doing, Riot Sister? You getting any of this weather over there? Got a little bit today, not as much as I'd like. It's never as much as I'd like over here. This is one kind of shitty thing about living on the plains is all the weather out here moves fast. Even when you get some that you like. Like, it's good when you get bad weather. It moves on pretty quickly. But then you get some weather that you actually enjoy, and it is also going to move on very quickly. Grab a touch of our white here. Do a little bit of highlighting. Not too sticky? Okay, I'll take a look. Mellow Mini. You just sent me a message, Mellow Minis, and I didn't have a chance to read it before I went on. I will take a look at that when I'm done tonight. I'm doing pretty well. How are you? Could we get a shout out, by the way? Excuse me for Mellow Minis. I love the stream. You should definitely pop over and give a follow too. Remember, guys, follows are free. And the worst case scenario for giving a follow is you go, I don't really like this stream the next time it's on, and you stop watching it, so I can't think of a good reason not to pop over and give Mellow Minis a follow and see if you like their content the next time they're on. Yes, I am. I am indeed. I actually recently started kind of a refurb of the way that program is going to work, but I'm still collecting materials for it. We have been able to send out only 2 packages this year so far, but it's a good program that I'd like to continue to pursue. Apparently that sound is supposed to approximate the horns often used in funk music, best known for Owner of a Lonely Heart by... Oh yeah, no, I can totally hear that now when I think about Owner of a Lonely Heart. Good find to Square. Seal 6 Operator wants to make a plea. You can make a plea. I can't promise that I will acquiesce to your needs, Seal 6 Operator, but I'm always happy to listen. Alright, let's do a couple of quick blends here. This nice and simple. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Yes, Seal 6 Operator. You know, I was just looking at that this morning, too, thinking, you know, I got that done. I should really post it so people can actually download and use it. That's a hell of an idea. I'll see what I can do about getting those online for you this week. I also did the same for the Dugram itself. Redid the shoulder and arm weapons to be more show accurate. I know people are interested in that. I'll see if I can't get that posted around the same time. Oh, that is a feeling I'm all too familiar with, Mellow Minis. My own storage is... well, at least now I do have a lot of storage, so when I start to overflow my storage, it's no longer a question of, man, I need to get more places to put things, but it's, I need to get rid of some shit. Definitively. Because if I'm filling up everything that I've got, that is on me. It wasn't always such. Was not always, but lately. Focusing on improving storage and types of storage. Interesting. Had to go on Marie Kondo. Yeah. Does this bring joy? Does this spark joy? Do I really want this? These are hard questions to ask for a lot of hobbyists, but it's necessary to ask yourself, like, am I really going to finish this project? There are so many projects that's like I started them, and I was really interested in them at the time, but I have to ask myself, you know, just acknowledge my enthusiasm did not last long enough to get through it. Is it really going to come back? Am I really going to do this? And sometimes you just need to bite the bullet and accept that the project is dead. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes that can serve to fire you up to continue a project that you started a little while ago. But if that fire doesn't come, it's definitely time to get rid of it. Or don't. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with holding on to old concepts on the off chance you'll get around to finishing them. But it helps my mental health, certainly. On to the fourth guy. Nearly filled up the Reaper Bones 5 core box with minis that need to find a new home. That is, and that is sort of the core drive of the Home for Wayward Paints, is just, I don't like throwing away models, I don't like throwing away paints, I don't like throwing away anything creative like that, because I just think to myself, like, man, there are people out there who want this. There are people out there who would be excited to have this right now. People who would work on it, people who would love it, people who would finish it, people who would take pride in what they've done, and I'd like to find them and put it in their hands rather than just get rid of it. Oh, thank you for the reminder to Square. Yeah, or want to give painting a try. That's the other part of it, is because this is the sort of hobby where you can't really be sure it's going to be for you until you've actually done it. The idea of it might sound very attractive, but the reality of it might ultimately leave you pretty flat. And it's almost impossible to know without doing it. But it's also expensive to get started. And I'd rather somebody get a handful of you know, Reaper models, Reaper Bones, and some cheap, partially used paints and a decent brush so they can try it out and figure out if it's something they really want to do, rather than invest, because, like, Games Workshop has the opposite approach. As far as Games Workshop is concerned, if you're thinking about starting to get into model making, they want you to buy all the most expensive products that you possibly can find. Here, buy all our Citadel branded shit. Buy the most expensive tools. You need all of these things. Buy a Start Collecting box with way more minis than you know if you're ever gonna want. I'm trying to do something a bit more sensible and less profit-minded. Welcome back, Forgotta Run. And you know, credit where credit's due. Games Workshop does make, in my opinion, the best tabletop models on the planet Earth for the money and the style and the support and the quality of gameplay that they provide. They really do. Their stuff is good. It's not like they're trying to sell you garbage for the most part. Some of their painting supplies are not great, and some of their painting tools are just like, why the hell would you ever want this? And that does rub me the wrong way a little bit, trying to sell things to new people that they don't need, will never need, would never need, but they don't know enough to know that they don't need it or want it. But they're a business. I get it. I feel like for every awesome choice that Games Workshop makes that I think is a really, really great idea, they make at least one supremely shitty choice that makes it hard for me to really get on board with their product. But I'll tell you, 50-50 is not that bad a ratio, all things considered. If someone was thinking about getting into miniatures and talking about picking up a bunch of Citadel stuff, I might try to talk them out of the tools and the paint brushes and whatnot, but I would not necessarily talk them out of picking up GW models. If that's all you ever paint, you'll be kind of spoiled, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Merlin Models, thank you for the reminder. I don't know that I've seen the Vermin Lord Corruptor White Wolf. Yeah, the new kill team, so I'll tell you the thing about the new kill team that's piqued my interest a little bit, is the recent claims from like the last 24 to 48 hours that they have completely reworked the rules from the ground up so that it's not strictly based on 40k but its own game system now. Because rules-wise, I'll tell you, there's one thing that turns me off of 40k and its subsidiary products. There's one specific rule. Are the other rules perfect? No, but there's one rule that I hate. And that's I go, you go. I don't like it. I do not like games where it's like, okay, I activate all of my models and then you activate all of your models. It's so outdated, and somehow they haven't really moved past it until, I guess, very recently in some of their, board game boxes and such, their secondary games. And it looks like they're going to be doing that in Kill Team, and I do find that interesting. I'm not saying I'm going to jump into the new Kill Team or anything like that, but they got me to take a second look, which I guess from the position of their marketing department is a good outcome. I still haven't tried Adeptus Titanicus is one of those games where I'm like, look, I know I'm going to enjoy this, and I'm just not going to try it as a result. I've got too many other games. I cannot devote my attention to Adeptus Titanicus, but I know that if I started playing it, I would. So I had to make the adult decision there and just not mess with it. Alright. Well, there's the red done, as far as I'm concerned. Let's go around and do some of the white linen portions, which is going to involve a little bit of yellow ochre. What makes you say that, Seal 6 Operator? I won't agree or disagree either way because I don't know enough about it, but I'm curious to hear what you think. Like, this is a problem that Games Workshop has with their secondary game market, though. Warhammer 40k is their cash cow, and while they come out with other games, those other games are almost always just an excuse to sell you a box of models you can also use in 40k, and they tend to not support those games for very long. Now, I think that they've done better recently supporting more game systems, and I can't really blame them for not wanting to take a lot of the focus off of their flagship cash cow. But that also says to me, don't bother getting involved in secondary GW games because they will not get the attention they need. And that's something that I value in a game system, is the company pays attention to it and cares about it. This might seem obvious or straightforward or far too simple, but it's necessary. I view that as part of the... because, I 3D print. You might not know that. You might not know that I 3D print some things sometimes. And these days, models have less value to me than supported rule systems. Because I can make the models. I can print as many models as I fucking want. Believe you me, I can find proxies for anything that I want to do. Speaking of which... well, let me finish my thought. So when I spend money on a game, one of the main things that I view myself as buying is the company's support for that game, for the system itself. Official support, tournaments, rules updates, balancing passes, things like that. I'm happy to pay money for that, because that's something you don't get out of random 3D printed figures. So I know I was just talking about finishing projects before you start new ones, so don't worry, I intend to finish my current projects before I start this one, but I need ZBrush projects right now. I need to spend some time in ZBrush, off scale for use for anything else. Yeah, that is a drawback, Seal 6 Operator. The scale for Adeptus Titanicus doesn't really meld with almost any other game system. How much you care about that will vary from person to person, but clearly they make some money on it, or they wouldn't be still supporting it, which they are, to a degree. I know some people are kind of dissatisfied with it, but it's gotten more support than, like, Kill Team did before the current iteration. Either way, I need ZBrush projects. I need ZBrush projects that aren't strictly things that I need test projects. I need things that I can kind of build my skills in ZBrush on. And I still want to make things that I want to have. I don't just want to make random figures. And what I really need are like some 28mm scale human-type figures with both fabric and hard surface, so that I can work on my skills building those in the ZBrush environment. And I think I've landed on a decision. I think I've landed on what I am going to use as my my growth project for ZBrush. And I'm going to aim at doing this project through the fall. Kind of KZL. More hills are actually coming up here pretty soon for Gadarung. That's a good idea. But I'm just going to say 2 words. I'm going to say 2 words. They're 2 very specific words, and they're not mysterious in really any way, shape, or form. You know exactly what I'm talking about as soon as I say it, because it's a title, for God's sake. But Tiberian Sun. And I landed on this because lately I've been wanting to play some more Maelstrom's Edge, because I really quite like that game. And multiple factions in Maelstrom's Edge remind me quite a lot of factions from Command & Conquer's Tiberian universe. And I've already got some Tiberian Sun style Nod Troopers that I worked up from a few different pieces, and some of the first 3D printed parts I bought were Tiberian Sun Nod Trooper helmets. I want to make my own. Make a bust of Ironside. Yeah, I can't remember the general's name that was played by Michael Ironside, but I know who you're talking about. Oh man, that would be a fun idea. A little Michael Ironside model. I do love Michael Ironside. He is a treasure, that man. I'm not going to make any promises. I'm not going to say this project is coming on X date, because it still needs to be worked out. It's going to take me some time to do, but I've more or less decided that I am going to do it. Specifically for making proxy figures to use in Maelstrom's Edge, because it is the perfect setting. I was thinking about it too, like assigning unit roles to, yeah, Project Dark Fox. I was about to say that, actually. So the thing is that the Karist Enclave in Maelstrom's Edge has 2 main halves of their army. They have the troops, the cultists, basically, and then they have the angels, which are these sort of like dark matter beasts with variable forms that they tame and use against their enemies. And I was like, how could I do, what would I, oh yeah! Visceroids, Tiberium fiends, floaters. There are a number of Tiberium life forms that could be made, and then have like a Nod handler sort of driving them into battle. Oh man, Earth 2150 was a great game. But yes, Tiberian Fiends are on my list. And believe it or not, there is actually a list. You get to work on some Heavy Gear Blitz custom pieces. So, like I said, there is a list right now. I've got my Battletech projects, which will be continuing. And I'll tell you, I'm really looking forward to the fall right now, because, as I've noted before, my time just fills up very quickly once we get into spring and summer. And once we get back into the fall, I'll have just more raw time to spend making things, and I think we'll see a real boom, just like we did last year. But yeah, I have actually drawn up my ideas for a number of pieces of Heavy Gear Blitz terrain. I think those are going to be kind of palette cleansers in between some other projects, Roland. Forgotten Handlers. Yeah! Yeah, that's right. There was the Forgotten faction in Tiberian Sun, and they could like control a couple of Tiberian fiends. Like the Forgotten Handler sort of replaced the Tiberian Fiend Alpha. So the question then becomes, which artistic influence do I use for the Tiberian Fiends? Because, as it turns out, there are a number of interpretations of those funny-looking little dogs with crystals on their backs. I always thought of them more like dogs because they make wolfy snarling sounds in the game. But they're described differently in some other pieces of the lore. So I don't know. We're gonna play around. We're gonna come up with something. But they are precisely the sort of unit that I need to be working on to build my 3D modeling skills and expand past the hard surface CAD stuff that I've been doing. And this is something that's important to me, is to keep growing, to keep changing, to keep evolving as an artist. And if I just keep doing the same thing over and over again, I will not grow, I will not evolve. They also shoot rocks, man. Well, they shoot Tiberian crystals. They have, like, a bunch of Tiberian crystals on their back, and they somehow shoot them. I don't fully understand. So the Games Workshop has said 3D printed Greeblies now illegal at Warhammer World. Not figures, Greeblies. You know what, Datron Voltari, though, like... Now, CL6 Operator, I work primarily in Fusion 360, and now ZBrush more and more. Here's the thing. That's Warhammer World. Like... How many, if you were to lay end-to-end all of the tables on any given day where Warhammer 40k is being played, how many of them, how much length is taken up by games happening at Warhammer World? It's a tiny little amount. So, who cares? If you're gonna go to Warhammer World and play, if that's something that's important to you, which is not important to most gamers, whatever. Use Games Workshop product, okay. Now, if they start doing that for, like, tournaments and broad events and stuff, then they'll probably have a problem on their hands. Merlin Models, thank you so much for the reminder. Yeah, that's the thing for Gadarung, though. That's a stupid stipulation. There's a basic concept that as far as authority goes. Don't make rules you can't enforce. Grandpa's Thump gave me a follow a little while ago, and I must not have seen the alert. I am so sorry. Thank you so much for the follow, my friend. Welcome to the stream. Don't make rules you can't enforce. Because all that does is breed contempt for the rules. If there are rules that are unenforceable, people aren't going to follow them, and then they will develop the opinion that you make up stupid rules, and they'll start violating more and more of them, and then you have a problem on your hands. People don't respect what authority you do have. Admittedly, Games Workshop has very little authority on literally anything that isn't at an event they have personally organized and are operating. But yeah, if they tried to do that for, say, like, events, broadly speaking, a lot of events, be like, oh, you can't play unless you use all our stuff. People would just care even less about 40k than they already do. As you said, yeah, they make themselves irrelevant, which I don't think they're that dumb. But for Warhammer World in particular, do whatever you want, guys. Like, I'm never gonna go to Warhammer World and play a game. I'll tell you that right now. I was never going to anyway, so this rule is like, whatever. Who cares? Pondburn dropping that 18 months. Pondburn, thank you so much for all of your support. And for being here as often as you are, man. How are you doing? Where the rule applies is irrelevant to how outrageously stupid it is. I would argue that that's not necessarily true. I think it is relevant because, I mean, look, I'll just tell you right now, like, I'm a pretty welcoming guy. The business side of this, of Thunderhead Studio, is not, still in my mind, is not the main component. The main component is just me continuing to do an art, me continuing to make things, to paint things, to have fun, to meet people. This is the core of it. And even with that being true, like, I don't want you to, for instance, and I don't think this is unfair, I don't want people to, other than, you know, approved friends of the stream, of the studio, as it were, I don't want you to come into my Discord channel and drop advertisements for your products, you know? I don't even necessarily, I allow it, but in truth, I don't necessarily want you coming into my Discord, coming into my chat, and, like, talking about a competitor's products for hours on end. This is not something I want. I don't really forbid it. I don't really even discourage it. I might just not engage with it. But I completely understand how them operating something like Warhammer World, they might say, just use my stuff here. If there's one place on the planet Earth where you are required to use all Games Workshop stuff, make it here. This one perfect little pure enclave. Is it silly? Probably. Is it understandable? I think so. Gonna end up painting the channel symbol on these shields? I don't think so, Pawnburn. I think I'm just gonna leave them this sort of leather, and I might do some weathering, like some scratches and sword scars on it. I don't know that that's necessarily fair, Datron Voltari. I don't want to argue the point, because I think it comes down to a matter of opinion, but I would say I don't think that that is a completely fair comparison. Because in one case you're talking about human rights for civilization and government, and in the other we're talking about little plastic spacemen and a company that sells little plastic spacemen. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, nanotanks. It's theirs, they can decide that. I'm not saying it's a good rule. I'm just saying it's not one that I'm going to lose a lot of sleep over. They do many things that bother me that are much, much worse than that. Rangonius dropping that 4 months of Prime subs. Thank you so much, Rangonius. How are you doing today, my friend? Yeah, I can see that, KZL. Yeah, I think that that's a better comparison. You're at your friend's house and they say, hey, please take your shoes off at the door. Like, it's only polite. Is it dumb? I mean, maybe, but it's not really your decision to make at that point. Now, if they start saying, if you're playing Warhammer 40k, you're never allowed to use 3D printed parts, like, yeah, that's stupid. And that reaches the level of unenforceability where they're just doing silly things. I also think that the actual technicality of the ruling is silly because they're like, you can use 3D printed parts that you yourself 3D printed, but not 3D printed parts that you bought third party. And to that I ask, how the fuck are you gonna prove it? How are you gonna prove it? And that, to me, is a burden that they're putting on their organizers that isn't fair. Because how do you make that call? Ask yourself for a moment, how do you make that call? If someone has 3D printed parts, and you come up to them and you say, you can't use that. You bought that, and they go, no, I didn't, I printed it, and you're going to prove your point. How? I don't know how. I have no idea. Even parts that are available commercially, can you really prove that they didn't get their hands on the STLs and print them themselves? I don't know how. So whether you like it or not, that's the kind of rule you shouldn't make. Because it is effectively unenforceable. There is no version of events where that works out for the person trying to enforce it, and it's not fair to anybody as a result. Buy me some 40Ks if they went bankrupt. Buy like the one from out front of Warhammer World. That classic Marine they still got there. Are we taking bets on how long it's going to take before they replace that with a Primaris Marine statue? Thing is, Games Workshop could go bankrupt tomorrow, never release a thing again, and 40k wouldn't skip a beat as far as players play. No, you're not wrong, Seal 6 Operator. I don't know if I'd say they wouldn't skip a beat. They might skip a beat, but it wouldn't derail the universe, certainly, which is unique in tabletop gaming. Tired from work, but doing good? Well, I am glad to hear that. I always say it's definitely better to be too busy than not busy enough. Most of the time, generally speaking. Obviously, there are exceptions to that. Something, something, idle hands are the devil's plaything. Alright, we'll swap this guy out. I will say the one thing I think is particularly silly that Games Workshop is doing right now is they're doing that whole... They're trying to Disney Plus us. They're trying to start their own streaming cable channel, which I just think of it as cable. We're just back to having cable. We've come full circle, full stupid, and we're back to the cable wars, and it's a nightmare. But they're trying to make their own channel for all their content, and it's like... I get that if you are an established content creator for like shows and television and movies and stuff, and they'll probably do just fine with it. It'll probably be successful because, let's face it, people will buy fucking anything with the Warhammer. It's a lot like Disney, where it's like you put the title on it and people will buy it. They won't even look at what it is. For like $1,000, fuck yeah, sign me up. Thank you for the reminder, Roland. Oh. Yeah, I need to readdress my channel points. That is a well-known issue on this stream. They don't do you a whole lot of good right now. But essentially an independent creator, an independent production made that series of Space Marine shorts on YouTube, and then Warhammer, or rather Games Workshop, went, hey, we can make money on this, and they hired those guys, and now they're like, we're gonna make a bunch of shows, and that is putting the cart way before the horse. They don't know if those guys will even be able to produce another video that people want to watch. They have the one video that some people like that, if I'm being completely honest, I could take or leave. It's visually entertaining. Merlin Models, you have a fantastic night, man. Thanks for stopping in. It's entertaining, but it's like contentless. There's nothing really interesting going on in it, and I probably shouldn't expect that from something Warhammer 40k. Like, if you read the majority of the Black Library books, they're just pulp. They're just pulp. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm not gonna fucking spend the price of a streaming channel to watch what amounts to pulp sci-fi being made by amateurs. It's just not gonna happen. A lot of people will. And the truth is that they have enough inertia, they have enough momentum, that they'll probably be able to get by on a couple of shitty things at first, and then figure out what they're doing as they go. Which, is that strictly fair? Probably not. Is it gonna happen anyway? Yeah. Yeah, but if you buy the yearly deal, you get free limited edition models. Is that true? Have they said that, or are you just proposing that that's something they would do? Because, yeah, they would do that. If you get the yearly subscription, we'll send you a new Space Marine Lieutenant. To go with your 30,000 other Space Marine Lieutenants. Oh, they are? Oh, God. Maybe I'm the asshole. Maybe I'm the one in the wrong. But I just miss what 40k used to be. I don't know exactly what it is now, but I don't like it. I'm not going to give you some long-winded diatribe or rant about how they should be something else, because I can't say that they should be. They're probably exactly what they should be to make the most possible money for themselves. They're a business, they run like a business, they're making good choices, but I personally, as far as what I consume of their product, I miss what they used to be. It used to be fun. Used to be funny. Now it's all cynical and serious. But your mileage may vary. I know I complain about a lot of things on this stream, you guys. I know I do. But I want to reiterate, I really don't want my cynicism to infect you. I don't want you to listen to me rambling on about why the latest thing from Games Workshop is bad for some obscure reason, and come away with this feeling like you should dislike them too. That's not my intention in saying that, and I guess I'm probably not at much risk of causing that. It's not like I'm some huge influential personality or anything, but I know that we get a lot of new painters in here, and for someone just getting into miniature painting, Warhammer 40k is very exciting, and it should be, and I hope that it excites you, I hope that you enjoy it, I hope that you find in it the joy and the love that I once felt for it. I just bemoan my own loss of that joy. I think that's more on me than on them. Cheaper than their app subscription and comes with the app too. Oh, God. Warhammer Plus is going to be like CBS All Access. Wait for something to come out worth seeing. Buy a month, watch, and don't renew. Yeah, CBS All Access pretty much disappeared, didn't it? Did they go to, what is it, Paramount Plus now? Or am I mistaken? Did they still exist? You could get Young Sheldon. That was a really exciting feature they had on CBS All Access that definitely made me want to scream so long and so loud that I died of asphyxiation. Oh my god. Once I saw that Young Sheldon was a show they were actually making, that was one of those I don't want to live on this planet anymore moments. That was a please God someone kill me moment. Apologies if you're a Big Bang Theory fan, but I am not. You know who likes the Big Bang Theory? My mother-in-law. God love her. I know I do. She's a wonderful woman, but we... See, Roland, for instance, found Young Sheldon amusing, and Roland, I value you too much as a friend and a community member to go off on you too hard for that. I do think that on some level, the fact that you like Young Sheldon is causing the death of human souls, but I won't rag on you for it. Other than how I just did. Are we getting notifications today? Oh, it's because it's below 5. I'm sorry. Techno Sugar, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, Raiders. We're just working on a little bit of Conquest, the Last Argument of Kings today. Still figuring out how to work with these here oil paints, getting a little bit better at it each time we do it. How you doing, Rio? Roland has a theory about the Big Bang Theory. I don't know if I want to hear it. You know how I say sometimes, like, I know I complain about stuff, but it's because I love them, and the things that I don't love, I don't bother complaining about because I don't want to think about them? I fucking hate the Big Bang Theory. And I won't sit here and critique it point by point, because thinking about it makes me sad. It lowers my mood and kills my enthusiasm and destroys all faith that I have in humanity. Because it's one of the worst things that's ever happened to our species. But I won't stop you, Roland, if you want to talk about it. Know who I know who loves the Big Bang Theory? 7 engineers, 2 lawyers, and 3 astrophysicists. No insult intended, but you're not the target demographic. That's incredibly disappointing. Here's the thing, though. Being an astrophysicist or a lawyer doesn't mean you have any fucking taste. At all. You're probably a pretty smart guy. Probably a pretty smart guy. It doesn't mean that you have any taste whatsoever. I know an aerospace engineer who eats at Arby's. So, you know, there we go. No, it doesn't. It does not at all. And honestly, you should take anything I say with a grain of salt. Because I like some things that are objectively terrible. But if you really don't care what I think at all, chances are you're probably not hanging out around here. This is my little place on the internet where I get to tell you what I think. That works decently. A little bit more white up here, and then I can move on to the next guy. What's wrong with Arby's? Oh, no. I guess I can't tell you that Arby's is bad. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't want to get too far into saying this thing is bad, because, you know, if you like it, you like it. And frankly, I think there's an argument to be said for everyone has very, very different tastes, and this is a good thing. We should all be able to appreciate different things. I just look at the menu of Arby's and I think, wow, I love everything on that menu, and I don't want to eat any of it from them. It's like the last thing I want to get at a fast food joint is fresh roast beef. Jesus. I'm sorry, I don't believe them. At all. I feel like you just made my point for me, Riot Sister. The last 2 times you ate there, you got ill. For Gadarung, that's not an argument. For fast food, it's better than McDonald's. That's yeah. You shouldn't be eating at McDonald's either. But I don't want to lay into anybody's tastes too much today. Because again, people who live in glass houses should not throw stones. And my house is definitely made of glass. The fast food wars? Ooh, there's only one winner in the fast food wars, though. And that war would be bloody and terrible, because I know a lot of people in this chat are like, fuck yeah, In-N-Out, and I'm not gonna tolerate that shit. Fuck In-N-Out. Fucking Whataburger all day, every day, for life. Burn everything else to the ground, except maybe Raising Cane's. I think they count as fast food. In-N-Out Burger isn't bad, but it is so over-fucking hyped that I just don't even bother. We got the first In-N-Out in Colorado, oh my god! And there's a line like 3 miles long for the next month. Oh, fuck that. That's just silly. It's just silly. Their burgers are good, but they're not wait a day to get them good. They're not even wait an hour to get them good. And all I see when I see that is a bunch of people just making some marketing professional's fucking day. We got them, boys. They'll do whatever the fuck we want. Come on. Now, as I say this, fair counterpoint, I waited almost 24 hours in line to watch Star Wars Episode 1 and 2. I didn't learn my lesson. And 3. I did that. So again, people who live in glass houses maybe shouldn't throw too many stones. What a burger shock. Not water burger. Doesn't sound good at all. Now I want a burger. Take that, Sumatha. Well, yeah, but you live relatively close to a Raising Cane's. Go get some of that badass chicken, bruh. Dude, Raising Cane's chicken is the shit. It is the shiznit-a-bam snip-snap sandwich. It is the business. If you haven't had it, you are not living your life to the fullest. You are not being the best you that you can be. On to the next one. Let me just thin my white just a little bit. It's going on pretty thick, and I don't want it to. Let's get a little bit of white spirits mixed in here. I've only eaten at Five Guys a couple of times. I've enjoyed it when I've been there, and their fries are definitely good. But I think I've only been there like maybe 3 times. So glad I know how to cook and no longer work in the restaurant industry. Every time somebody starts talking about some hellish weight, I just laugh and go back to cooking. Datron, that's called cheating. The rest of us we are plebs, and we must make do with what the algorithm tells us we're allowed to eat. Of course, I also live in a small town, and at this point, man, even fast food joints are like, I don't care if it's bad, just have it be available, please, just for some variety. We do a lot of cooking out here. But it's still nice to just pick something up every now and then, you know? You know what I miss? Checkers. Checkers and Crystal Burger. I haven't had that in forever. Checkers was, I don't know if it was owned by or just heavily sponsored by Mike Tyson. I feel like he owned it. I feel like Mike Tyson actually owned Checkers. And they did sweet potato fries, man. Ooh, that was the shit. That's where it's at. I can't think of any place else you could even get sweet potato fries. Fast food. Specifically. Ooh, I hope we get to see him for Gatorone. You know what I really, really miss? Colorado Pizza before the ownership changed. I don't think I ever went there. I'm not familiar with that place. We had a place in my hometown called Colorado Burger. And when I say we had it, I mean it existed for maybe a year or two in like 1999. So it hasn't existed for a long, long time, but I still think about it. Those burgers were really good. Want some bloody Raising Cane's? Oh, they're so good. Did he? JDF? Fucking reppin' Cane's? Oh, man. He should do a public service announcement. I love JDF. I think JDF is an idiot. Like as a human being. JDF, if you're watching this stream, I'm sorry, man. Please listen to my complete analysis. I don't think he's, like, that bright a guy. But he's so positive, and he's so upbeat, and he's so encouraging, and he loves his fans so much that I don't fucking care. He's just, like, he's... God, this sounds so mean to say. But it's like, he's one of the dumbest people that I kind of want to be. For all my cynicism and for all my sitting here going, I'm smarter than this famous guy, which is just an idiotic thing to say. for all of that, I have not had anywhere near the positive influence on people's lives that JDF has, and I respect the fuck out of that. Who is this? Oh, Jason David Frank. I guess I don't want to call Jason David Frank dumb. That's not what I want to say. I want to say he's what's the good word that isn't too pejorative? He just has a very simple outlook on life. That is the impression that I get from him. But he's accomplished so much more than I have. It sounds even worse, Roland. He's one of the common folk. Jesus, I'm digging myself a hole over here. Please nobody tell JDF that I said that. Not because I'm, like, afraid of backlash, but because I really do admire the guy. And I feel like if I hurt his feelings, I might die. Not that he would give... Obviously, he's gonna care what some Twitch streamer said about him. He's gonna be like, what? And he's gonna start crying. Right? Because why wouldn't he? Common folk. Salt of the earth. The common clay of the New West. You know. Morons. Oh, it's been a long time since I've watched Blazing Saddles. I guess not that long. I did do a pretty good Mel Brooks retrospective last year. And we watched almost everything that he did, starting with Young Frankenstein, because it's my favorite. Sometimes I feel like I'm one of the only people who really loves Dracula Dead and loving it, because I get a lot of shit for enjoying that one from people. But I do love that movie. Has anyone eaten at Culver's? I don't even know what Culver's is. Oh, you too, huh, Waffles? I watched that whole movie. I'll watch that whole movie just for the Leslie Nielsen gag where Mel Brooks as Dr. Van Helsing is talking about Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Tepes. It's like he was a brutal tyrant from ages past who became famous for impaling peasants on iron spikes. And Leslie Nielsen is standing right there, and he kind of looks around self-consciously and just goes, "They had it coming." They had it coming. That and oh my god, who plays Jonathan Harker in that one? I can see his face. Was it Steven Weber? I think it was Steven Weber. He was funny. No, not Ethan Hawke. This is a different Dracula. And not Keanu Reeves, the worst Jonathan Harker in the history of film. That movie is like a fucking incredible achievement of filmmaking. I don't know, but 90s Dracula, I don't remember what year it actually came out. It had to be early 90s, the one with Gary Oldman. Like, it's an amazing movie, but Keanu Reeves is so fucking bad in it. It's like, how how is this man a highly paid actor? Now, admittedly, he answered that question over the coming years, but at the time, it was like, this is some of the worst delivery I've ever seen. Let's go ahead and move on to the armored bits, because I have some work to do on those. I'm going to be utilizing a bit of Payne's Gray, which is here. I might wind up working in a little phthalo green. It kind of remains to be seen. I wish I could comment on Culver's, guys. I had not even heard of it as a restaurant until you guys mentioned it in chat here. I certainly have never been to one. I don't think we have them here, or anywhere I've lived, which is... I mean, shit, I've lived almost everywhere in this country. I've lived on both coasts, north and south. Nope, that's not true. I haven't lived in the Northeast. I have not lived in New England. Where are they? Upper Midwest, mainly Minnesota. Okay, yeah, no. You're naming like the handful of states that I really have not lived in or anywhere near. There was one back home. Where? Ryan's sister? I don't... Not my back home. I'm just taking some of my Terra Rosa from the other day. That is kind of solidified on my palette, mixing in a little bit of white spirits to reactivate it. Go ahead and reach in here and hit a couple of the facial details before I paint the helmets. I guess I should do the eyes now if I'm going to do them at all, but let me go ahead and just hit the exposed skin first, since I've already started doing it. Out in front of Target? Really? Am I just like, is it like that shit in Doctor Who where it just erases itself from your perception as soon as you look away from it? Because I have no recollection of this at all. You would think I would. Spend too much time on these guys' facial details. Really, any one part of them. If I spend too much time on it, I'm just gonna move right past it. grab a little bit of white and see if we can't do some eyeballs that don't look terrible. I've never done eyeballs or fine details in oil. So, just hoping this works. Yes, CO6 Operator, this is for Conquest, The Last Argument of Kings, a rank and flank fantasy wargame from Parabellum Wargames. It is the first game they've made, and it is pretty fucking excellent. If you are a fan of... Oh, this looks terrible. If you are a fan of, like, Warhammer Fantasy Battles, for instance, it would be very, very familiar to you with a number of improvements and changes. We're gonna have to clean that up. You have to clean up all the eyes, which is honestly why you should generally paint eyes before you bother with the rest of the face, because it's much easier to just kind of slop them in and then clean up the edges when you come back than it is to try to do them precisely and perfectly after you've painted the face. See, I'm getting paint every fucking place. But that's okay. It's very, very similar Wombat Combat. The model counts are not as bad as Warhammer Fantasy, but it's still higher than a lot of war games. You do wind up using a lot of figures. Thankfully, the figures are all very nice. They're done in styrene plastic sprues, which is pretty great for a new game from a relatively unheard of publisher. Oh no, the shield's gonna make this hard on me. Oh, whatever, we'll clean it up. Who gives a shit? A little bit more white spirits this time just to reactivate my black paint that I have here. Try to do some irises, and then we're going to come in with some burnt umber and clean up what's left. Can't think of any really good regional fast food from New England. They got White Castle over there, don't they? It's hard to do rank and flank games without winding up painting a whole lot of models, though, and I do quite love rank and flank style gameplay. I would have sworn that they still had White Castle up in the Northeast, but I haven't been there in decades, so... That's not true, not decades. A decade. I haven't been there in a decade. No White Castles, really. Where are they these days? It seems like they kind of went out of style. I hope they didn't go out of business. Well, if you do wind up picking up some Conquest Wombat, I can tell you that using code Thunderhead during checkout at Parabellum's e-store will get you 10% off your order as long as you're not using another one of their other promotions. These are some of the worst eyes I have ever painted on any model ever. And they're just gonna have to do, because I'm still not used to doing fine work with oils. They're not bad, but I think I need a brush that I keep in slightly better shape, because this is a little tricky to get it just where I want it. The good news is they're tiny and you're not going to see their eyes very much. I probably don't even really need to paint them at all. Let's get some of that burnt umber out here and clean those up. So, Steel 6 Operator, there are a lot of ways you can use Fusion 360 without necessarily paying that. First of all, it is free for hobbyists forever. There's a limitation on that, and that you can only have 10 projects active at any given time on their cloud, which is a hell of a drawback. There are also student licenses and startup licenses. I've been operating on their startup license for the last 2 years. I have one more renewal before I will have to actually purchase the product from them. But I believe you can get a lifetime subscription for not that much. Relatively speaking, I think it's like $500 to $600. Some of my burnt umber here. I'm going to come in and try to clean up some of these eyeballs a little bit. Really just need the suggestion of the eye, not really the perfect... Oh god, that was terrible. Okay, let's try again. Well, there's something that's tricky about doing this in oils, is that oil paint is transparent and doesn't want to cover quite the way I want it to. Maybe I'll redo the eyes in acrylics, which I'm more familiar with for fine detail work. Burning red demonic eyes. Easier said than done, my friend. I'm just gonna give them the faintest suggestion of maybe eyes, and probably call it good from there. And rely on the fact that their eyes would be largely shadowed and not visible anyway. Hey, Scud24, it's good to see you. Yeah, we're just not going to worry too much about them. Had an idea for a sitcom. I'm gonna sell it to Wes Chatham and Amazon. Everybody loves Amos. Well, that's just, isn't that just, you're just describing The Expanse. Everybody loves Amos. Amos and Peaches. Yeah, these eyes are gonna need redoing. I'll probably come back and redo them in acrylics just because, man, I am so much more familiar with doing fine work in that particular medium. So I'm just gonna leave the faces for the most part. Work on everything else right now. That should just be a quick touch-up. You know, for a split second, I almost did Seal 6 Operator. I almost did. I wonder if my Payne's Gray just needs more mixing. Hang on. What color was I gushing about last stream? Oh, that would have been Terra Rosa. I love that color. I wish I had something as opaque as Terra Rosa in the same tone as Payne's Gray. I might have just over-thinned my Payne's Gray when I bottled it, and that's kind of what I'm getting from this. I'm going to try some right out of the tube. Kind of thin it myself by hand here with the brush I'm going to be painting with, which might have been a little bit of a mistake, but hey, we'll live. Something a little bit thicker, since I'm going on over mostly dried but just reactivated oil paints. There we go. Now let's try again. Absolutely, Seal 6 Operator. Thank you for the reminder on that one, man. You have a fantastic night, dude, and thank you for being here. Yeah, that's more like what I'm thinking. Real dark gray. There are metallic oil paints? Are there? I don't think there are. Excellent Brigada run. Looking forward to seeing them. I'm under the impression that the medium of oil paints just don't take well to suspending metallic flakes inside of. But I don't really know enough about it to say definitively one way or the other. Here for the chainmail. Just a touch. Thought you saw Wapple using metallic media at some point. It might have been, but Wapple is a crazy experimental dude. It might have been something like, oh, I thought I'd try these few products and some metal flakes that I shaved myself to make a metallic paint, for all I know. He's a very in-depth painter. Just because he's trying a technique or a product doesn't actually make it all that accessible, necessarily. A lot of the times it is. Holy moly. Bark Axe Miniatures dropping that gift sub right on over there to Techno Sugar Creations. Bark Axe, how are you doing today? I'm having a great day. I'm a little sleepy. This is just kind of low energy, but, you know, getting some work done, so it can't be all bad, right? How you doing today, Bark Axe? Bark Axe is a very, very talented painter and streamer, and someone you should definitely check out the channel of if you have the follows to spare, which something tells me you do. Something tells me you do. If you don't have follows to spare, you should contact Twitch customer support, because that's a strange problem to have. Ooh, in fact, I'm gonna need to go make myself a mug of coffee. I'm just run down today. Should probably do like a gold on the hilt and the pommel there. Felt good to pick up the brush and put in some work today. I'm glad to hear it. Some days it feels like a burden, and some days it feels like freedom. I can tell you which day I like more. that since that's against the back of his shield. Might just touch the edge. Oh, God. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, give me just 1 second. I'm going to get up for a moment. I'm going to stretch my legs. I'm going to make myself a mug of coffee, and I will be right back. And we're back. Let's take a minute. Have ourselves a nice mug of coffee, put a little bit more pep in our step on this lazy feeling Tuesday. I'm going to have a granola bar while I'm at it. Go ahead and clean my brush a little bit so it doesn't do anything funny while I'm waiting. Yeah, nothing super interesting on the printer right now, Techno Sugar. I'm printing another of the same thing that I had on last time, just because I need a number of them. Barkax knocked out one of Gaunt's ghosts. Pretty satisfied with the result. Are those models out yet? The official Gaunt's Ghost models? There have been unofficial Gaunt's Ghosts for like years at this point. But the official ones do look nice. Those books are pretty great. They're not, like, the best thing ever. They're probably the best writing in, they're probably the best writing in the Black Library. But then Dan Abnett, I think, is the best author that they have working for them over there.
Yo, I heard you liked battle mechs. So I put a battle mech in your battle mech, and now Thunderhead's 3D printer is broken.
No. Gonna put a chuck roast in the crock pot, and then gonna crash Pond Burn. Have a great night, man. Thanks for stopping in. Oh, yeah, this is good. This is gonna help. It's been a busy week, and it's only Tuesday. Lots to do. I'm still moving slower on these figures than I'd like. I think the fabric and the leather I got through pretty decently at a good clip, and I could maintain that method. But I need to figure out a quick method for doing the armor and the metal parts, which I guess is what we're doing right now.
Welcome back to 50 Shades of Cold Gray.
Here we go.
And as he pulled his stiff bristles out of my wet fluids, I yelled out, "No, Thunderhead! You need to thin that paint first!"
It's humiliating how long it took me to realize that all of 50 Shades of Cold Gray was written from the perspective of a pot of paint. Alright, chat. What is the best flavor of granola bar? Because personally, I'm 50-50 on the peanut butter. And I'm talking like Nature Valley granola bars. I'm like 50-50 on the peanut butter and the oats and honey. See, there we go.
Do you like sexy battle mechs, sexy streamers, and sexy Solaris cheerleaders? Well, Thunderhead Stream has some of those things, and more.
That doesn't really count to Square. That's like a whole other thing. Like, I know the one you're talking about. It is delicious, but it's like a whole other product from this. Thank you for joining me, by the way, for this session of granola bar and a mug of coffee. Ooh, that's no good to Square. That's a bad time right there. The irony being, as Steel a Rebel comes in to compliment my voice, I'm eating a granola bar. I can't say anything. How you doing today, Steel a Rebel? Oh, yes, I need this. I need this. Energy level draining way too quickly. You always get the double shout out. That's just how it is. Oh, lordy lord. Riot Sister, what are you making for dinner, though? Before you go, what are you making? Oh, is there any pleasure, any rapture, any exquisite sin greater than black coffee? I propose not. Ooh, that sounds delightful. Forgot it wrong, it's okay. When you say things, it's like opposite day. So you saying that coffee's gross just confirms that it is an amazing and wonderful thing. Now, coffee is gross. Coffee is the very definition of an acquired taste. And if you don't care to acquire it, you have no reason to think of it as anything other than disgusting. And objectively, I think you're correct. Oh, but once you acquire it, it's so nice. Electrical Longbeard knows what I'm talking about. He just followed because he's thinking, this guy's sitting here drinking black coffee. This is a man of taste. Electrical Longbeard, thank you so much for the follow, man. Welcome to the stream. It was Pesmotion. I was wondering if anyone was going to catch it, but yes, that was precisely it, Pesmotion. And it was about central air conditioning. Though I agree with him on that one, too. Okay, like, everybody likes the movie Dogma. I think Dogma is possibly one of the best movies that Kevin Smith ever did. I don't even think that's being fair. I think I could just say it is the best movie he did. Has done. And Jason Lee was great in it. For me, for Jason Lee, I'm like his character in Dogma, the demon. Like, don't get me wrong, I like his character in the other Kevin Smith movies. He played, what, like Banky? No, he wasn't Banky, he was somebody else. No, wasn't he? Was that his name? Worked at the fucking comic book store. Anyway, yeah, he was great in Mallrats and a number of other ones. Let's not talk too much about Chasing Amy. But, I really liked him in Dogma, and then I like him in My Name is Earl. I don't know about that, Roland. I don't know, like, I like Mallrats, but I'm not gonna say Mallrats is the best movie that Kevin Smith ever did. It's good. It's top 50%. I'll give you that. Oh my god, yeah. This is absolutely necessary. Like the milk-style coffees, those you get in the glass bottles, the sort of pre-mixed ones, those are good too. Drinking a black acid bitter sludge is not something we do normally. No, we definitely... It's a horrible, horrible substance that we learn to enjoy because of the caffeine. I used to drink coffee with fairly sweet. And I'll give you, you know what? I'll give you the embarrassing, silly, hipstery reason that I started drinking coffee black. It's 2 words. 2 words are why I started drinking coffee black, and I'll bet somebody in this chat can guess them without me saying them. I'm gonna let this sit for a second. If you know the 2 words that are the reason, there are technically several combinations of 2 words that could be the answer. But if you know the 2 words, go ahead and put them in chat. That's a good one, Roland. That's a good one. But I didn't even have enough access to... I did often drink coffee black in basic training, but it was terrible coffee and I didn't enjoy it. I just had to have it at that point. It's so much worse. It's so much worse than any of you are guessing. It's gonna be embarrassing. It's worse than even not having money. How is that, by the way, Mafik? Netflix keeps advertising it to me. No, nobody's gonna get it. Alright, are you ready? Are you ready to hear the two words? I'll give you both combinations of two words that I would accept, okay? Twin Peaks, Dale Cooper. That's the reason. I told you, it's a bad reason. But it's true. And over time, I came to enjoy it. And these days I really can't do, like, obviously I can drink coffee with cream and sugar in it, but I don't enjoy it as sweet anymore. I'll tell you one thing that you learn when you start drinking coffee black is you start to care more about the quality of the coffee that you're drinking quite a bit, because you can take any swill and fill it with enough milk and sugar to be drinkable. But if you're drinking it black and you're having bad coffee, you're having a real fucking bad day. Next guess was going to be peer pressure. Close. Didn't know what creamer was until you went to the US. Really? Is black coffee the norm where you're from, Steele? Started drinking coffee the first year you were in Japan to try and stay awake while you were studying kanji. Interesting. You have any good Japan anecdotes for us today, Steele? Just use milk. Okay. Okay, yeah, you know, I think of almost any dairy added to a coffee as just, in my head, I just think cream. That's cream. You're adding cream to coffee, and I consider milk and creamer and all the supplementary non-dairy products just kind of all in that umbrella, but I think I only think about it that way because I don't use them, so I have no need to differentiate. Excuse me. Yesterday you were telling people about a temple you went to that you have to climb a mountain to see. Ooh, that sounds spiritual. Sounds cleansing. Sounds difficult. Sounds sweaty. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. And I'll tell you, that is one damn fine cup of coffee. And a damn fine coffee mug. I'm definitely not slowly moving it closer to the camera. This is just normally how close it is so that you can see how nice the mug is. If you're sitting there thinking to yourself, how can I get this amazing mug that he's drinking coffee out of? Which obviously you all are. Who could possibly be thinking anything else? You can always hit !merch to get a link where you can get one of these very fine mugs from our very own Rainy River Designs. God, I'm such a fucking shill. I disgust myself. No, fuck off, Steela. This is my mug. We've been over this. A Koranecdote. That's awful. Is that what this is about, Steela? Turnabout is fair play? Just trying to make me understand it? Well, joke's on you, Steela Rebel. I don't learn lessons. Ooh. Still trying to figure out how to get someone to bring me fast food. Pezmotion, there are services for that these days. There are food picker-upper peoples. I remember the first time I encountered a business like that. It was well before the advent of modern social media. It must have been like 2000. Let me see, I was in DLI in California, so it was 2006? Maybe? 2005, 2006? And there was a guy who just, like, you know, apps didn't fucking exist at the time. He just had a pull sheet, you know, like a sheet with a bunch of little slits at the bottom, and he could pull the number. And he advertised around the military base, around, you know, the Defense Language Institute. And that dude did crazy business. And he advertised there because he had the necessary, what was it that he had? I'm not sure, like, if he might have been a civilian family member or a contractor on top of what he was doing, so that he was able to actually drive on to base. but he was the only person you could call and be like, pick me up some fucking sushi, you know, grab me something from McDonald's, drive it on to base, bring it to my CQ office, please. And that dude made bank. I wonder what he's doing these days. I wonder what anyone over there is doing these days. I wonder if Campagno's is still there. Man, that sandwich place was amazing. Oh, I don't know what's sweeter, this amazing black coffee in this fantastic mug, or the fact that Hamburg Tack is still here after 10 months. I'm just kidding, I know. I know which one is sweeter. Hamburg Tack, how you doing today, man? It's the coffee. Do I leave now and stop at the store on my way into work? What's the other option, Berg? I got crap all over my office right now. Alright. Let that sit for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of blue and white together on my palette here. And see if I can't come up with a decent looking armor. I'll try to touch a Prussian blue. It's real rich, and it's a bit of a bully. Fairly opaque. Vergaderone, make the right choice, dude. If you have to leave now to make sure that you have the food that you want, then do it. Because you're just going to be miserable if you've got to eat shitty food for lunch, bro. And I don't want that to be the case. I don't want you to have to suffer like that. I'm going to take the faintest touch of this Prussian blue and mix it into this glob of white here, and I've probably already used too much. Yeah, in fact, I have. So blue. Well, maybe not. Oof, it is so blue, though. That's okay, I can give myself a few versions to work with. Take a bit more white. That's more what I was thinking. Mostly white, the faintest hint of blue. And I put way too much on the palette because I'm still used to pulling out the amount of paint I need for acrylics. Have not gotten used to that yet. Never had a steak bomb. I saw you say that. I'm not sure what a steak bomb is. Is that like a steak and you put like an M80 in it so you can flash cook it? Because, I mean, I'm here for that. I was. It's something that I'm very much still trying to master, Steel Rebel, is just how thick I want my paint for each individual application. Gradually getting used to it and learning how to let some paints, some oils kind of rest for a bit before I come back to them. Just kind of play it by feel. That's not bad. For as fast as that was to apply, that's not bad. I like that. Yeah, and that's the thing too, Steela, like, that's the kind of learner I am too, It would be great if I could just listen to what everybody says when they're painting with oils and replicate it and get all the techniques down, but I'm the kind of painter, I'm very tactile. And even if I know the rules, even if I know the guides, the rules of thumb, I just kind of have to mess with it until I get something that I like. Oops. A bit much. Make that into a point of glare, I suppose. That's not bad. Relatively speaking, for as little time as I spent doing that, that's actually a decent-looking shield. Could we do more? Could it be better looking? Absolutely, but man, that is tabletop quality if I've ever seen it right there. Real easy. And I remember, that's what I said we were looking for, is real easy and good enough. Well, thank you for saying so, Sumitha. You killed a full pound steak bomb earlier. It's a sandwich similar to a Philly cheesesteak, but with the addition of salami or... Now, okay, Roland. Am I crazy? Or is that word there the one that is often pronounced in, like, The Sopranos as gabagool? I'm pretty sure that's the gabagool you're talking about. With peppers, onions, and mushrooms. So what you're saying is you have a sandwich similar to a Philly cheesesteak, but with the addition of salami or gabagool, which you have to... It's the gabagool. You gotta say it with the hands. That fucking word. It cracks me up every time. Peppers, onions, mushrooms. That actually sounds really fucking good. That's the proper way to say it. I would ask Stila, but I think that's like an Italian-American thing and not an Italian thing. I could be wrong. The pronunciation, that is. Not necessarily the dish. Please, Stila, enlighten us. Explain to us the gabagool. Manro Fasal, good to see you, man. Bring him the gabagool. I've been rewatching The Office lately. I would like to order the gabagool. Oh, shit. It's funny. Yes, and that's... I learned recently that is... It's just a funny pronunciation for what appears to, when written, be pronounced as capicola. But then I am American through and through, and we do pronounce and enunciate literally everything. Once I started studying languages, I came to understand that that is what the American accent essentially is, relative to other English speakers, is we over-enunciate everything that we say, to the point that other people often find it comical. That's pretty easy, and I think that result is good enough for tabletop quality. I need to stop abusing this brush that I'm using, but other than that... As a New York Italian, I understand that it came from my Sicilian forefathers, but I could be wrong. You know what? You know what came from my forefathers? You know what amazing American traditions we now have from my forefathers? Is pretty much like the recently popular Highland Games festivals and making fun of haggis. That's what we got from mine. That and, of course, scotch. But that's not an American tradition. Drinking it is an American tradition, but making it obviously can't be, because if it's not from Scotland, it's not scotch. Otherwise, it's just sparkling brown sadness. Heavier on the paint here. Just try to streamline this process ever so slightly. I wish I had a better angle for these lower parts on the foot, but I really don't. So let's just make it quick and dirty. I'll hit these with white before I'm done. Just the faintest amount, I think, though. Come in here and try to catch the texture of the chainmail without spending a bunch of time on it. Same for the belt buckle. He has just belief in the equality of all syllables. I don't know any other way to talk. It's frustrating for me listening to other English-speaking accents around the world, because I just, like... All I know is I once spent... You know how when you tell stories over and over, they get more and more exaggerated? You know, like, we all do this. As you tell a story over and over to people, it gains a fantastic element until it has very little to do with reality. But I swear to God, oh, those are meant to be stitches, not... I'll redo that. I once spent 20 minutes in a pub with a Scottish man, trying desperately to understand what he was saying, and partially convinced that he wasn't speaking English at all, as he was trying to just tell me the name of a local distillery and give me directions on how to get there. Now, admittedly, he was several scotches deep at this point, but his accent was so heavy that I was not totally sure he was speaking English. I would catch individual words in there. Now, to his credit, he was very, very patient with me. But he could obviously tell that I was American. We need patience. Now, that is one thing you have to say for us Americans. Broadly speaking, you can almost always understand us. You may think we sound like dorks, but you know what we're saying, don't you? I think that has to be a positive on some level. We can be understood, but we can't understand. Oh, the frustration. Quick and easy, quick and easy. Here we go. American English was the easiest to understand when I was learning. I'll take it. I'll take it. What's up, Avash? How you doing today, man? What's talking about? Gas, creamer, the hood, the trunk, or the stupid units used? Okay, now I will not defend imperial measurements because they're garbage. I have tried to stop using most freedom units where I can because metric is objectively superior. But your insane slang is not my problem. Who calls a trunk a boot? Who calls a hood a bonnet? What huh? And you call cookies biscuits? You have any idea how long it took me to figure out what the fuck you were talking about when someone said the word sausage roll to me? It's ridiculous. It's interesting, there are some linguists who believe American Southern drawl is actually closer to what British English sounded like in the 1600s. I've heard this, Roland. I've heard exactly what you're talking about, and I watched a thing where someone did comparisons, and yes, the Southern drawl is interestingly kind of descended from like a very proper English accent. I can't remember the region that they likened it to, but it was from a very particular region, too. It was interesting to listen to. I wish I had watched it recently enough that I could expand on that, but it has been some time. Like, see Timothy Olyphant and Walton Goggins doing Shakespeare with their accents from Justified. I mean, that just sounds amazing, though. Both of those actors are incredible on that show. By the same token, when someone says, pop the hood on a mid or rear engine car, they don't open the engine cover panel. Bonnet and boot are relative, as I understand it, to the engine cover and the storage space cover panels, regardless of vehicle configuration. I mean, yeah, it would be like front and back, like hat and butt, I guess. I don't know. Hat and shoe. Because that's what a... I mean, that's, you know, that's a bonnet and a hood, isn't it? We had the hood of our car stolen in England. Like, we parked our car, we went into a bed and breakfast, and we came out the next morning, someone had stolen the hood off the car. And there was a solid 5 minutes of speaking to the fucking police. The bobbies, if you will, governor. Oh god, I just got unfollowed by like 20 people. Where they had to explain what the fuck a bonnet was. I'm like, they stole the fucking hood. It was a surreal enough experience without having to explain that. My favorite Britishism, a high school buddy of mine did a year abroad in London. His flatmate asked to borrow a rubber and didn't understand why that's my British accent, it's awful. Why Dan was horrified when he said he'd give it back when he was done. Oh, yeah, no, that's... Oh. Oh, God. Please don't. Please don't give that back. You keep that, man. That's a gift. That's not a borrow. You know what? The one that always throws me is pants. Because pants are just pants over here, but over there that's underwear? Okay. And I guess trousers are pants? That's a whole thing, Roland, and a topic I'd rather not get into here, if you don't mind. Confusion brews from the fact that they call a convertible top a hood, which, if you think about it, actually makes sense. It does. But then so does convertible top. Or roof. Makes perfect sense in the context of a convertible. In the topic, in the context, that's the word I was looking for. In the context of... How you doing, Tiago? It's unfortunately today I'm printing another of the same thing I was printing last time, which is not the most exciting thing, but I need multiple of them. This corner for the most part. Thin that a little bit more so it goes on and blends a little easier. I will say that driving in England was actually pretty nice. Once you get used to some of the basic differences, obviously, you know, driving on the other side of the road, etc., etc. I came to love the roundabout, and I came to be quite frustrated with the American implementation of the roundabout, because over here, people like to put them in, where they weren't really designed to exist. In recent years, a number of towns, particularly here in Colorado, have started putting in roundabouts at intersections that are much, much too small for them. And that is frustrating. Because roundabouts are awesome when, like, they're considered and built there for a reason. They're not so great when the intersection was not built for it and you just sort of put one in anyway. That sucks. They need to be quite large, and most of our intersections are not. And people here have no idea how to handle them. It was, yeah. Normally I'm printing something fresh each time, Tiagal, but today I just need more of the same. This. I'm gonna remove some of this. Thin it out and disperse it a little bit. I'm sure that there are some roundabouts that suck. I am sure in England, in the UK broadly, I didn't encounter any that were particularly terrible. Most of the ones I encountered were admittedly in major cities, and I liked them. I recently went back to my hometown in bumfuck Colorado, and they've put in a bunch of roundabouts in places that just used to be basic intersections, and that shit's crazy. People don't know how to use them. It results in traffic going much slower. Now, maybe, you know, with time they'll get used to it, and that's all well and good, but for right now, it's just incredibly frustrating. Come on. Probably gonna do some washes over that mail texture because it wound up being pretty heavy. In fact, I'm using oils. What am I saying? I can actually clear some of that out easily with a little bit of white spirits. Got way too heavy on the bottom. And then I'll use a black wash on that a little bit to kind of ease it up, but a nice heavy shadow on one side now. I kind of like the look of that. I'm gonna take some pure white, do a couple of touch-ups here. Oh, that might have been a bit too much. Yeah, that is a bit too thin. Yeah, I mean, I agree. It is mostly just that people here don't know how to operate in them, which is what makes them kind of suck. That, and they make them too small. Those are the two main problems. One of these can be solved simply by putting them in and letting people get used to them. The other one is harder to solve. Most of our intersections are not... Most four-way stops are just... They're not designed to be that large. And when you're just like, cram a tiny roundabout in there, it doesn't really help anyone. It's something you kind of have to be thinking about before that point. But whatever, they're stylish, I guess, now. Come in with some Payne's Gray and clean that up a little bit. Yeah, I need a brush that I don't abuse quite this badly for this kind of fine work, and a lot of this I'll probably touch up with some acrylics down the line. Frankly, I should be using a different brush for this. I don't know why I'm using this one. I've been putting way too many white spirits in this brush for it to continue working right now. It needs a little bit of time to rest. I'm just so used to treating my brushes a particular way when I'm using acrylics. I'm still not quite used to the ratio of paint to white spirits and what order I should do everything in. It's very nice, though, with oils that you can wipe a lot of the paint off without having to do a whole wash. This one has a nice tip on it right now, though. Let's see how far we can take this. Not very. I lost that tip almost immediately. There we go. Not as clean as I want it to be, but I'm using oils. So I can fix that a little bit with just a little bit of blending. Okay. I don't think it's size. I mean, the size definitely depends on the amount of traffic that it gets, and the ones that I'm talking about get way more traffic than their size would indicate. Or is appropriate for them. Damn it. Well, yeah, nobody knows what yield means anywhere, as far as I know. People think yield just means stop in a lot of places, which is extra frustrating. It does not mean stop, believe it or not. Remind everyone that I'm really not very good with oil paints. Like, I know what it is I want to do, but my level of control is still developing. Still, I think for the amount of effort I'm expending, this looks good enough for me. Well, yeah, but okay, stop means stop, which means bring your car to a stop and then check for cars. Yield means stop when there's oncoming traffic. But what I'm talking about is people who see yield and then, regardless of whether there's oncoming traffic, they stop their car every single time. That was a big frustration living in Texas. Again, I guess I would rather they stop at the yield sign than blast through it thinking it doesn't mean stop. Of the two misinterpretations, I definitely prefer the thinking it means stop. But it's still annoying. Better than ignoring what merge means. It's also frustrating when people can't figure out the concept of the zipper merge. But you know, my answer to a lot of my people can't drive frustrations has been to move out in the middle of fucking nowhere and generally not have to drive around people. These days, I leave that to you folks. I make it sound so easy. It's not. Don't like it? Just stop having to do it. It's simple. Yeah, that's gonna get probably a wash. That's okay. Let's blend those edges out just a little bit. A little bit more blue, I think, because I kind of had to remove a lot of that from the helmet. I definitely want some more blue in there. Not too much. Not too much. That might be much too much. Alright, let's come in with some white on the shield. And I think by the time I'm done with this guy, it'll be just about time for the storm report. But hey, I think I've actually developed a method for doing this that I don't hate, along with color combinations that I can easily replicate. Damn it. There we go. Nice glare. Hey, Cat of Carmody, how you doing today, my friend? My friend, my nemesis, my counterpoint. Currently lamenting that I cannot purchase this eBay auction I've stumbled upon. 11 stealth suits for 40 bucks. If it's any consolation, Caddick, I think you have bought quite enough models in recent months. You don't need them. I assure you, you do not need them. You want them, yes, but you do not need them. How are we feeling about this model overall, guys? Because I'm sitting here painting it, and I don't feel like I have a good eye for how it's turning out, but I am getting more comfortable with doing this quickly, and I think I'll be able to replicate this easily on the rest of them. Techno Sugar, thank you so much for the reminder. Ooh, and you as well to square, because, there we go. It's not terribly complex, but I don't want this paint job to be terribly complex. I just want it to be easy and effective. and a good learning project to continue to apply oils. Something where I can do a whole lot of them and just get a little bit better at it with each model. It fits the bill for that just about right. Some of these blends are a little bit rough, but I'm not too terribly worried. Yeah, I think the red cloth kind of came out pretty nice. And I think the leather and the red fabric are the nicest, and the weakest aspect of all of this is all of the metal that I've tried to do. And a lot of this Stila comes down to what I was talking about with the thickness. It's just, it's by feel, and I don't quite have a feel for it yet, but we're getting there. And I am going to do well, I guess, no, I don't want to complicate things. But another color here on the hilt and the pommel would be nice, I think, like a brass color. And the thing is that a lot of these guys also have chains around their necks with like little medallions that I'd want to do in sort of a brassy color, so I think what I'll do is I'll do a pass on all of them for more of a brass metallic effect. But I mean, this guy overall, as a model, minus a couple of small touch-ups here and there, like, if I can do a bunch of guys like this, I'll be pretty happy with it. We have 2 minutes until the storm report, so I'm going to continue working on this guy. Just cleaning him up for those 2 minutes, and then we will get started seeing what y'all have been sharing since last stream. White Wolf, thank you for the reminder. Pull this up here real quick. And shift it just so. Seen an Agent Mobius and Loki model somewhere we could put with your 100 Kingdoms guys. So I am mixing my universes a little bit in that after I get my initial 100 Kingdoms guys done, where is he? I am going to be painting this as my human noble commander, which is Vernon Roach from The Witcher 3. The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 3. Was Roach in The Witcher 1? I don't remember him being in it. But I love this model. And it's perfectly styled for the rest of the 100 Kingdoms guys. Like, it's right the same style and, like, tech level. Oh, it's time to drink some water, is it? We can do that. Clean my brush ever so slightly here. You ready for the biggest surprise of the night? Because it's 8:30, baby.
All right, locusts and gentle mechs, get ready to feast your eyes on glor paint and wet palates with the occasional culinary atrocity thrown in on tonight's Storm Report, brought to you by viewers like you.
Did you just hear a Martian from Mars Attacks? Did I make an ack-ack sound? I was not aware of it. I hope not. That would be concerning. Oh, itchy elbow for some reason. Alright, give me a second. Let me move my paints out of the way so I don't go jamming my elbow into a pile of oil. I've done it before. If I don't check, I will do it again. This has actually been a good and productive night. This model that I just got done, like, I'm happy with this as a finishing point for as many of them as I have to do. I think it looks pretty decent. I can refine it as I work on more of them, and it has been very, very educational getting to this point. I've definitely been flailing up until now, but I think this is the best iteration of this painting style I've done. It just did. It's already started, White Wolf. It's already started. It has already begun. Oh, that just gave me an idea. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it gave me an idea. You'll see. Maybe, if I get around to doing it. Which, who the hell knows? Who the hell even knows what I get up to with my free time? Oh, wait. Okay, now it's started. Okay. Who do we have up first? It's looking like Mafik. He's always getting in those early entries. Been doing actual tank artwork this week, plus also doing some different perspective practice. Practice is definitely important. Gonna record a new one. Calm your tits, hold your shits. The storm report is a startin'. Oh no, I can't do ass crack on Thunderspunk on this overlay. Okay, note to self, fix that for next time. It's just a whole crew of bros riding in on their meat grinder and bread man? Am I reading that correctly, Mafik? Meat grinder, I get. Break man? Bread man? What's the bread man? What is the reference I'm not getting? Bread man. It just doesn't seem like that intimidating of a name. Oh, French. It's designed off of a French tank. I see. Thus the bread man. I'll buy that. I'll buy that. I like all the dudes riding on the runners. That's a nice touch. Little homeboy with a bayonet back here. God willing, he won't have to use it. For such adorable little men, they're so violent. So very, very violent. I'm going to divide that between a little bit of water and a little bit of beer. Thank you for the reminder, folks. Hamburg and Techno Sugar. Obviously, I think what they're getting ready to invade Italy so they can get some of the gabagool. So they can make themselves a steak bomb? Is that what it's called? A bomb steak? A piece of meat that you flash cook by exploding it? I'm still not totally sure on what that is. Not totally clear. That's the phrase I'm looking for. Really nice work, Mafik. I particularly like this guy because we have kind of an interesting 3/4 rear angle on him, and he's kind of looking back over his shoulder, and you can see the weapon sort of held at the ready behind him. Yeah. we're gonna take the gabagool, I'm gonna put it in the tiny stein, and I'm gonna eat gabagool out of the tiny stein while laughing at Steal a Rebel. I apologize. The gabagool. We're gonna steal all the gabagool, and I'm gonna put it in the tiny stein. And how am I gonna eat what is apparently a sliced meat out of a stein? I mean, you're just gonna have to tune in to find out. Really nice work, Mafik. Let's get a look at this alternate perspective. Oh yeah, this guy coming down the hill here. I hadn't really thought about it before, but it's true. A lot of the work that we see out of you, Mafik, is all from essentially the same angle. And it's creative. And you've got a very distinct style, but it's absolutely good to sort of push ourselves into doing things that we don't normally do. I think it's very effective. I definitely get the same effect. Nicely done. Data Nerd, good to see you. I'm always being cruel, Steela. I'm always being cruel. Mafik, really, really nice work, man. Looking forward to seeing more just tanks at you. DA-36, mouse-sized land ship. Interesting. Not familiar with it. Yeah, everybody's expressing surprise that I started something on time. You could act slightly less surprised in order to soothe my ego. That would be the polite thing to do. Oh, up next we have from Chaotic Harmony. Oh, a little bit of a boop. Recently went to the Warhammer Cafe in Grapevine, Texas, and this was too cute not to share. Chaotic fiance getting a little bit of Papa Nurgle's nose boop. Fucking silly, by the way. Absolutely silly. We get here late and the report is on time. Yeah, I did it just to fuck with you guys. Just to do it. Oh my god. Chaotic Harmony, you guys. Chaotic Harmony and Chaotic Fiance make me so happy. You guys are just, you're cute as hell. And the fact that she is as relatively supportive of your fairly recent hobby as she is just shows that this is true, deep, meaningful ignorance of how much money you're eventually going to spend on it. Wish I had the vomit emote or knew how to use it. How you doing today, WJ? It's good to see you. The storm report is never late. I agree. It starts precisely when I mean it to. Precisely. Coming down here we have from Rio Hassenpfeffer, the old counter boop. Funk. This is like, I love this, by the way, Rio, the art that you've been doing, and I know we've talked about it a few times. You're doing ballpoint pen on Post-it notes. And it's just... Art exists regardless of the medium, and particularly in miniature painting, we tend to, because many of us aren't, like, artists, per se. Many of us are just gamers. And we think of painting as, well, if I had the right tools, if I had the right paints, if I had the right medium, and it's not necessarily true. There are certainly tools you can use to make it easier on yourself, but I have seen some truly amazing paint jobs on minis done with just some of the shittiest paints you could believe. Which relates obliquely to the fact that you're creating these hilarious and adorable pieces of art with ballpoint pens on Post-it notes. Chaotic, make sure you share this one with the fiancé. I'm sure she will appreciate. I like how you look like you were about to say something or in the process of saying something when an RPG impacted the center of your face. And despite the fact that it's clearly wide enough that we should see your eyes and mouth, they have all just been brought right into the impact point. Fantastic work, Rio. Oh, she's seen it. Okay, fine. Look at your face, or lack thereof. Here we also have from Chaotic Harmony. Got tired of all my 40k stuff being in a box, so I went ahead and stuck them on some recently cleaned off bookshelves. Top shelf is entirely Tau units, bottom is half AdMac. Clearly, I need more space. Then 2 shelves? God, yes, man. Fall in love with the, what is it, the IKEA Detolf? The Detolf is the display cabinet, is it not? They're fucking amazing. You can get one usually for like $120. They're hard to order. A lot of the time you can't find them for order, like delivered to your house, but if you can go to an IKEA store, you can almost always find the Detolf there for, I think, about $120. They are magnificent glass display cabinets that are super duper easy to, number one, expand more shelving into, and number two, attach lighting into, and they are ideal for model display. Absolutely ideal. Yeah, Stila, I think it's one of the most popular products that IKEA makes. I should probably look at the picture. Also, partially did this to give some volume and visibility to my pile of shame. It's not a pile of shame, Chaotic Harmony. It is a pile of potential. Look at that, look at the big old Tau robots over here. Have I mentioned in the last 48 hours how I bemoaned the fact that the Tau moved away from auxiliary infantry and into the realm of giant robots? I have, haven't I? I think I made that specific point. Last stream we did. I'll leave it alone this time. Potential shame. Oh, I'm gonna take a nap after this. Good God. That's a lot of good painting you've gotten done, though, Chaotic Harmony, and this doesn't even include your Taukin patch that you did for your local store. I would still love to see some action shots of those, your pumpkin patch Tau getting used in a game. You did a fucking fantastic job on that whole group, man. For that matter, I'd love to see your new Age of Sigmar stuff getting used in a game, because that whole box you did is amazing. And, like, Chaotic, part of the reason that work that you did excites me so much is you realize that paint work that you did over the course of a week for that box, someone's gonna come into that store having never played miniature games before in their life, and they're gonna go, what's this? And somebody's gonna go, oh, Games Workshop has 2 broad categories. We've got sci-fi and we've got fantasy. And they'll go, I want to play a fantasy game. And they'll pull out your painted models and they'll go, these were done by a local artist of hours, and he could even tell you how to do it and which paints to use, and they'll play the game, and they'll be excited. Their imagination will be fired up. A whole new world of gaming and imagination and creativity will be opened to them, and you, my friend, will have unlocked that particular door. That's special, man. It really is. No, I'll just nap. I don't pretend to have a sleep schedule, Data Nerd. That's crazy talk. All right, coming down here, we have from Rio Hassan Pfeffer again, still trying to learn Clip Paint Studio. Excuse my garbage lines. Rio, I think you know better than that by now. Revised cat, since I can actually see her when she streams. Oh, cat version 2. This is cool. I really like the sort of spray-painted style of Riot Sister behind her there. It does kind of capture her wistful, what's the look? What's the look that's always in Cat's eyes? It's just a little bit of fuck you. Just a little bit of fuck you. And that's what I'm getting from this, too. Cat 2.0 looks fucking fantastic. That's not, no, Drakari, I love giant robots. There's just one particular scenario, several particular scenarios, a handful of particular there are some situations where I don't like giant robots. Mostly in Tau because I liked something else that they had before they moved in the direction of lots of giant robots. Fuck! Yeah, exactly. That little bit of fuck! Lovely work, Rio. And well done. I really like the shading on the shirt in particular. Like, I barely even noticed that this is mostly white space with just a little bit of shading in the shadows. That's actually very effective. I can't wait to see... Getting used to software and learning how to use tools is such a tedious part of what we do. I say what we do very broadly, Rio, because I think that you are a much more talented artist in general than I am, but that's just my opinion. But once you learn the tools, I'm very excited to see what you come up with. Because getting over that hump is a pain in the ass, but so worth it. Here we have from Wombat Combat, been working on some of that AdMac. This is a Cataphren Destroyer? No. Cataphren? Is Cataphren the word? I feel like it is. Spelled with a K and a PH. It's been a long time since I have looked at the Breacher. Cataphren Breacher. Okay. It's been a long time since I've looked into any of the codices. But I remember this figure. I like how for all of his high-techery, he has like 2 big nasty exhausts coming out his ass back here. Really nice job on this. The red is very, very desaturated on this Wombat Combat. I love your blue. I love the pale flesh tones that we went with on here, and I like how dirty the red looks. I particularly like your inclusion of the copper and how dirty that is. I like this kind of blue-gray you have for the treads. The next time you do some AdMac... Ooh, I like the basing, too. I just noticed that. What did you use for that? Is that like a Vallejo texture paste? I really like the look of it. You did a very good pattern with it, and then I really appreciate how the kind of cool blue-gray offsets the warmer tones of the model itself. Crack patch. Huh? Oh, well, hell, if it gets the job done. If you're looking for any suggestions moving forward, Wombat Combat, you can go redder. And I mean a more vivid red, because it looks like your base red is already kind of desaturated. It's more of a dark... This is what I'm looking for. It's not the most vibrant base red. Even if all you did was come in with a red wash or something like Scale 75 Ink Tense Red over what you've already got, just to push that vibrancy up a little bit, that's going to kind of set off the rest of the colors that you have in the figure. It's going to make that blue pop more, it's going to make the base pop more. It's going to make the treads and the weapons pop more, for that matter. That would be my only suggestion, was just lean into vibrancy on the red, because yours is very washed out. But all in all, really nice brush control. Looks like you're using a combination of dry brushing and a number of other techniques. Very effective. I really kind of like how it's sort of beat up on the front of the tread here. And I love the copper tones. Really nicely done, and fantastic job on the basing. Really, really nice. It's hard not to wash the red out with the heavy weathering. Pick and choose where you weather, because weathering is more effective if you do it in fewer areas, which seems counterintuitive, I know. But start small. Do weathering in very, very few places, and then work your way up. I think that you will find sort of a happy medium on the low end of the spectrum instead of going on heavy weathering right away. And I mean, you know, it makes sense for the faction too. Are they going to be beat up because they've been fighting? Yes, but if there's any faction in all of 40k that is going to have well-maintained and often cleaned gear, it's going to be the Adeptus Mechanicus. This dude, I guarantee you, has a whole team of tech priests whose sole purpose in life is maintaining his mechanical parts. Nice work overall, though, Wombat Combat, and thank you for sharing. Oh no, we got some memes. Never thought I'd die fighting side by side with an elf. What about side by side with a female character from a Danish toy building set? Oh, Lego. Oh, no. Oh, God, I got to the last panel before it hit me. You know why? Is because he doesn't say that in the movie. He doesn't say Legolas. And so I wasn't thinking it in my head. Because all he says is, I could do that. And then I read the words Lego last. Jesus, what? Okay, yeah, I'm too tired for this shit. What do we have next? Here we have from Kursala. My parents have been here visiting for about 2 weeks now. Thought it would be fun to have my mother paint up a model for her to play, quote, robot game with. So I set up the paint station last night, gave her an Orion and my paint rack, and this is what she came up with. Based it on my lava rocks because she told me to make it a surprise. For having... I'm going to assume she's never painted a model in her life. I'm going to assume that this is the first time she has ever put paint to brush to teeny tiny game figure. And based on that assumption, it's actually pretty good. Like, I'm not going to sit here and claim that if you were trying to really paint some figures for a game, you wouldn't make some other choices. But I will say that I have seen people sit down with the intent of painting themselves a wargaming force that have made more mistakes than what I see here. I actually kind of like the color choices. I think that with some refinement, this scheme could actually work to a degree. The white being repeated here and here has a nice symmetry. Again, the yellow and the green across the shoulders. I might go with another color than the yellow, but I actually like the division of panels that she chose here. That's pretty cool. Really nice. Did you build it yourself, or did she decide to have its leg lifted like that? Rainy River Paint is so user-friendly, even an amateur can use it. Yeah. So, as I get done with my Conquest forces, we're going to be moving back into Warcaster and back into acrylics, and I'm going to be using a whole lot more Rainy Rivers. And there are a couple of paints I'm actually going to order from you, Kursala, that I want to supplement what I've got. Because I really like your overlays, and I need the Amethyst one. You built it, been in your box for a while? Okay. How did she like it? How did she find the experience? And I decided to paint up another Franken Orion, this one with Black Knight feet since I had a few spares, and some tank friends with the paints in our new Arid Legion paint set with a bit of extra for details. These are based with the Arid Scrubland blend, which I need to make a bit more of, and I think it's a good combo. I'm pretty happy with the flame effect from the cannon, but the OSL on the torso feels a little sloppy. There was a bug on my neck. How gross. Oh, I like the effect here. And this is the Orion that you've whipped up that's actually works pretty damn well. Yeah, a little bit of OSL up here. I like this little hover tank guy. And yeah, guys, you can always, by the way, hit ! Rainy River in chat if you're interested in checking out some of the really quite nice paints that Kursala and Data Nerd have been whipping up over there at Rainy River Designs. Continues to expand their range with more types of paints for different purposes, and now we're starting to see more paint sets come out of them, and I'm very excited about that. The legs are from Cybran's Black Knight Do-Over. I thought I recognized them. Yeah, I need to work on. I printed. So I tried to print out some of your sword hands, and oh, that just reminded me of something. I tried to print out some of your sword hands, and that's how I discovered that I had a bunch of gunk in one of my vats, and I haven't actually cleaned it out yet. Ugh. I gotta do that. Because that print didn't come out the way I wanted it to. But yeah, I need to I need to print out the sword hand so I can do my own Clan Buster Black Knight. Especially since I kind of had to throw away the last one, since unfortunately it was from my first round of prints, and I didn't hollow it properly, and it was full of uncured resin, and it cracked. And now most of my Comstar force is gone. But hey, you live and learn. And then you print your fucking model solid after that. Nice work, Kursala. Track tank on the left, this guy right here. Interesting. POV swears by the Amethyst overlay. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of purple on my Iron Star Alliance, and I need it specifically for that purpose. I'm starting to get used to how oils blend, and going back to acrylics, I'm going to be very frustrated by that, so I'm going to need to use some filter effects to get my blends. Here we have from Cybran Knight, Magnatorius Maximus, also known as Metalcore Collectibles. By the way, guys, if you're interested in anything that he posts, you can always hit ! Metalcore in chat to get a link over to Metalcore Collectibles. If you're into 6mm gaming at all, that site is worth a browse. I know it might have been seen already, but here you go anyways, a bunch of Metalcore Collectibles lighter vehicles. This is still one of my favorites. This is still one of my favorites. And I mean, it's because it reminds me, particularly this one, obviously, of the MLRS. The hover MLRS from Tiberian Sun, which is just one of the coolest fucking vehicles in history. Sort of more like a magenta Kursala. I wouldn't mind trying that out, too. And the Albatross. I'm so used to seeing your bigger stuff now that it's kind of funny seeing these little single hex guys that actually fit inside of an actual single hex. Yeah, and that's kind of why I'm thinking Project Dark Fox. I'm going to dive into Tiberian Sun for some 28mm figures. Because it is to my absolute shock that I cannot find any 3D printable figures of Nod Troopers, Cyborg Commandos, what were they called? Reapers? Those little skittering four-legged murder bots. You know, GDI Jet Troopers, Wolverines, the big old Titans, like none of that. I can't find any 3D printable files, and that's surprising to me. How do those vehicles avoid being knocked back as hover? These other vehicles are on the ground. I'm going to assume, yeah, stealth tanks. Yeah, the Nod stealth tanks. Or how about tick tanks? Actually, tick tanks aren't that exciting because they just look like regular tanks. How would I do a tick tank? You could do a model that had like diggers on the front and some transforming components, and then do one that's actually dug down into the ground, I guess. I would assume that they counterbalance by tilting themselves. What would you do? You're being pushed back, so if you tilted forward, sort of like how a helicopter moves forward, and then sort of elevated your barrel and fired, you could sort of counteract the force. Maybe, you know, in a sci-fi world where it doesn't matter. Tick tanks have no turret when in tank mode. They do. They have a turret. Tick tanks are fully functional tanks. No, so there's a rail. Okay, the best example I can think of is, do you know the APC from Aliens? When they roll into the LV-426 Hadley's Hope colony, you see the turret on top turn, slide back on a pair of rails, and rotate onto the back of the tank. It's almost the exact same mechanism as far as I remember. Because it has a turret, normally, and then the front digs down into the ground, and the turret that would be here slides back and goes up onto the top of the tank and then moves around and fires. In tank mode, it absolutely has a turret. Believe me, I've played that game enough. Really nice work though, Metalcore, and it is fantastic to see more and more of your catalog getting paint jobs as I continue to produce things that I fail to paint. Oh god, here we have from POV42, went back into that laser scarred base from last week, tried to give it a sense of motion and make it clear which way the laser traveled. This is better. I like this. This looks fucking good. This looks much more like I can see what happened here. We have the heat glow on one end, and then it's faded significantly towards the other, so you can tell that the laser started in the bottom left and then moved to the top right. I think you're misremembering Project Dark Fox. The Tick Tank absolutely has a turret when in normal tank mode. That same turret rotates back onto the back of the tank as it digs down into the ground. Also, the Tick Tank is fucking nonsense. Just as a concept, it's ridiculous. There's no reason to make a tank that can do that. But, whatever. Who cares? It was cool. There's also probably no real reason to make cyborgs like they did, but whatever. They can heal in Tiberium. That's something. This looks nice, POV. This is well done. Trying to think what I would do to change or add to this, and honestly, I think this looks fantastic. This looks like exactly what you want it to. I think this is going to look really, really nice on a base. Well done. Yeah, I could see that. What Vergaderung saying here? Maybe just a little bit of black dry brushed around here just to give it like sort of a heat scarring effect, but that's a maybe. That's a maybe for me. Like, I might try it on one and see how you like it and not necessarily stick to it, because I think this looks great. Oh, for Taco Tuesday, something we don't celebrate enough of anymore. We should bring that back. Close enough for a Fox edition. Yup, it's a burger. Same ingredients, slightly different method of prep. At least it isn't Chaotic saying something at the end of an audio clip, right? Yes, saying something and not something very, very particular. I like how we have the rendering of White Wolf here, complete with a blep showing just how much he wants to dig in to this. You know, I like a good basic burger. And that tomato looks real nice. Damn it, what am I having for dinner tonight? I should stream earlier in the day so this doesn't keep happening. Oh, no. Alright. Here we have from Nanotanks. Finished the last of the trains in the last couple of days. Oh, that looks nice. The Milwaukee Road. I don't know enough about trains to comment particularly on the historical nature of the paint job or the decals, but I have to say, for as tiny as this guy is, which you said about 10mm scale, this looks wonderful. Now, here's a question for you, Nanotanks. Is this shroud going onto like an electric train chassis, or is it going onto just like a static, but maybe with rolling axles train chassis? This is going to be run, so this is going on to an electric chassis. Interesting. Very interesting. I very, very much want to see this when it's done. That. Roland, WJ, stop it. I excuse you, WJ, for asking for realism and logic. And I remind you that we were talking about a universe, broadly speaking, where someone decided it was a good idea to take a tank and put it on two legs, which objectively makes no fucking sense. Coming down. Also from Nanotanks. Also started on something a little different. Conventional mini painting. They're not even tiny. The current state of the desk. Middle guy is the most complete with a shield, hilt, and head to go. The guy on the right is for testing colors, so mostly blocked in. I'm liking where this is going. I like the use of the sort of coppery brass for almost all of the metal components. I assume that, yeah, we're going to get that also on the rim of the shield, and I guess they would be... they'd be bronze, wouldn't it? If these are... because these are Spartans, we have the lambda on the shield, so if we're talking historically, they would have been using bronze weapons and armor. Okay. Bronze is tricky to do. Bronze is definitely tricky. It has a little bit of a reddish tone to it, and it looks like your base over here is pretty good. You might consider looking into like a rust tone, because when I think brass, I think yellow, because brass is very, very yellow. Bronze has copper in it and thus picks up some of that reddish tone from the copper. So I would lean into some more red overtones so that it doesn't look quite so brassy. Goes to copper real quick. Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right in that it is very, very hard to distinguish.
So I painted on some metallics. Bitches love metallics.
They love the metallics. It is very hard to distinguish bronze from copper on this scale, and I think that it looks fantastic as it is. But if you were going to, I would think working more reds into the shadows and then keeping the highlights more of the gold color, sort of contrasting that, would look pretty good. You were doing copper the other day and having a lot of fun. Yeah, Terra Rosa, right? Oh my god, I have really... This paint, Steal a Rebel, this is one of my favorite things, if only because when I put it down, everything turns the color that I'm painting. It's like going back to acrylics for a minute. Oh, God. Lovely work, though, and I'm excited to see you working on some larger scale stuff, Nanotanks. Yeah, no, these are not realistic Spartans, WJ, by any stretch of the imagination. For reference, Spartan warriors, in the very, very brief period of time that Sparta as a city-state existed, which, by the way, was a very brief period of time, in the time that they actually fought at the Hot Gates against Persian invaders, would have been wearing heavy bronze armor. Like head-to-toe bronze armor, and would not have been rocking loincloths and combat nipples. But, of course, Zack Snyder and Frank Miller have broken our collective brains on that front, and now, yeah, we're all about the mythic Spartans, which, I confess, are much more cinematic and fun to watch. At least, you know what, at least these guys aren't just wearing leather underwear. They have at least protected their thighs, which... that may be the one thing that bothers me the most about those Spartans, is, like, because in combat sports you learn very, very quickly that getting hit in the thigh is one of the most common things that can happen to you. It is absolutely one of the most common things. Your thigh is incredibly exposed, it is difficult to shield, and you're going to catch a lot of hits there. There are so many vital blood vessels in your thighs that if you get a sword across it, you're probably done. Just dead. So if we're going to make any change to the militant underwear of the 300 Spartans, I think that this is probably the smartest. Nicely done. Here we have from White Wolf again, Real Grade Strike Gundam, now assembled and panel lined. In a little while I'll tackle the water slides as well as weathering, especially weathering. This one's just begging for a bit more life to be added in with such. So I saw something the other day. First of all, the panel lining is very effective. Wonderful, really helps the details pop out. I saw somebody the other day talking about, they had like a picture that they had posted in a little blurb about applying miniature painting techniques to model kits of this size and going much more heavy on painting the entire figure rather than just panel lining. And it was interesting, and it may be something that I explore when I build my Dugram kit. Because I know a lot of people go for the minimal painting on this. You do panel lining, you rely on the color of the plastic, and then you do weathering, which, by the way, looks fantastic, and I'm very excited to see how you weather it. But leaning into the miniature painting techniques, being much more heavy-handed with the paint on that, could also be a good time. I don't know, we're going to have to explore that. Really, really nice-looking kit, and well done with the panel lining. Lovely work, White Wolf. It's a Force Impulse Gundam. Alright. Here we have from Sumatha Titan Tuesday. Hey, I'm okay with that. Excuse me. Well, Titan-ish Tuesday. Got a new addition to the squad. I'm calling this the Bahoot. Oh, I'm sorry. That's BH0002 or Big Hammer Triple Aught 2. Yeah, that works too. The name sort of explains itself, really. Found this one to be a very fun departure from the normal stuff that comes with these Steel Bone or Dark Source mecha figures from Joy Toy. This one, the Gray HO2, actually comes with two sets of color-matching thigh and chest armor plates. One with more rounded style, and one with the same style as the white dual-wielding gunslinger next to it, visible in the group shot. This allows you to do up the machine in either style. I personally think the rounded style works a little better for the rest of the torso design. It's a really tough decision between the two, because both work really, really well. Also, really like how this clearly big and heavy melee design has some enhanced feet over the other designs. That makes sense. You'd need to have a good, solid connection to the ground to be a melee mech, creating a bigger footprint with added toes. Anywho, the big hammer and firepower to match. Yes, the heavy guns on the back are on back-mounted arms that have an absurd amount of articulation. Yeah, this is something else that you learn very, very quickly when you're involved in any form of combat sport. Any form. From just any martial art. One of the first things that you're going to learn is when you're hitting anyone with anything, from your fists to a weapon, all of your force comes from how well planted you are on the ground. Not all of it. Okay, obviously there's room for things like, angular momentum and things like that, particularly when you're wielding weapons. But essentially most blows require a connection to the ground to be effective. and it actually makes a whole lot of sense. Rotational momentum. Thank you very much, Roland. What did I say? Did I say angular momentum? That's not... I mean, angular momentum is certainly involved, but you're right, rotational momentum. But yeah, you need... I like this. I agree, that's a cool idea. I like how the feet look like they could almost kind of close up and, like, lock themselves into the ground a bit. Because if you think about it, when you're hitting somebody with a weapon or with your fists, you're basically connecting the ground to their face through you. And if you're not connected to it, you're going to push yourself back with that much force. But if you can take all the force into your, pass it through your body from the ground, you're hitting somebody with what you're standing on. The whole MO of Kung Fu Sansu. Minimal movement, maximum damage. Yeah. This is a nice looking one. I do like the look of the rounded armor. I do think it does fit. Because it looks like it's big and it's beefy, but it has more of a smooth movement profile. That, and if you're going to be fighting up close and in melee, I mean, to be truthful, I think rounded armor makes more sense than blocky armor in almost every case. I was going to say in melee, but even if you're doing ranged combat, rounded shaped armor is going to deflect more damage than hard flat surfaces. Just generally speaking. It's the reason that the human skull is often as tough as it is. Not only is it composed of a series of arches, which is one of the strongest shapes in nature, but lots of incoming blows have a tendency to deflect their force out and away from the point of impact, instead of all focusing in on one point. Because you have to have a really, really good angle to focus on one point of impact on a rounded shape, and it's very likely to deflect. Hard flat surfaces are better for deflecting radar. Touché. That's a good point, Drakari. And that's something that I hadn't been considering when I said that. Except for angled armor, yes. If you're designing it specifically for incoming fire, you can use flat surfaces in a good way to deflect away. This is true. Rounded armor works well as long as it's not getting nailed right where it's most perpendicular versus the direction of impact. Yeah, but that's a very precise point, Suntha. I guess what I'm saying is, I'm full of shit and there's arguments for both. Ultimately, I think that's what I'm saying. Here's a shot of the whole Titan squad as it sits. Plenty of dragons in the background, of course. But that comes as no surprise and hasn't changed any. Like I said before, if you open the full-size image here, you can see the different style of thigh and torso/chest armor applied to the white mecha next to the new edition for reference. It really is amazing how many different points of articulation these figures have. I agree, they're really nice figures. Even the mounting points of things like the shoulder pauldrons, kneecaps, and shin guards all have articulated mounting pegs. Damn. Allowing you to shift things around if you want to. These guys really went above and beyond. This allows for greater range of poses, as the armor can literally be moved out of the way to enhance the articulation range of the joints. Nice! This was something I was only partially aware of with the previous models and completely aware of now, because the newest one actually comes naked, with none of the armor panels attached, likely to emphasize that there are options for how to armor it up. It's a nice looking squad. Yeah, so here's our newcomer here, and yeah, you can see the much more angular plates on this guy. I like the rounded plates on the thigh in particular, though. It's a damn good looking squad. I appreciate that you have this guy over here in the Dougram style pose, reaching up to hold on to the shoulder cannon to stabilize it. I love it. Rounded armor was used a lot in late medieval armor. Yeah, and it's much easier to... I mean, there are a lot of reasons that would be true. WJ. Not the least of which being that they had developed lots of smithing techniques involving taking a single sheet of steel once they had developed the blast furnace and planishing and dishing and even raising it, because you can make... I don't want to get into a whole conversation about this, but there is a method called raising through which you can create a domed shape. Like, it's much weaker if you take metal and pound it from the inside outward into a dome, because you're stretching the metal thinner and thinner as you pound into it, and you end up with this really, really weak structure. But if you take a flat piece of metal, right, like this, and you hammer in at it from the sides at an angle, so you push, and you push, and you push the steel towards the center point, you start to create this raised shape with a point in the center, but it is incredibly thick and strong. Essentially what I'm just saying is a lot of those designs had to do with what manufacturing and fabrication methods they had available, and again, with a lot of the weapons that they would have been facing at the time. I have successfully raised one piece of steel with hammers in my life, and let me tell you, that is a fucking difficult technique as opposed to dishing, which is hammering from the inside. And I have immense respect for every smith who ever learned how to do that. Holy crap. Ah, nice looking squad there, Sumatha, and thank you for sharing with us. Here we have from Vergaderung, finished up those custom cataphrons. Have the custom Genitor Dominus, who looks over them in the back. Did a little bit of simple OSL for the first time with the floor light on the I almost said lead breacher. Lead breacher. Oh, yeah, I see that. It's actually
Welcome, everyone, to Thunderhead Studios,
This is important.
where the only rule is
Please don't show me your genitals.
have fun, be safe, and above all,
Don't show them to me. For the love of God. Don't do it. Visited a katana swordsmith in Kyoto once. Looked pretty intense what he was doing. Yeah, anybody who's hand forging... Like, these days, anybody who's hand forging swords is doing it because that's what he fucking wants to be doing. And you're not gonna find anybody doing it casually, or for the most part, poorly. Like, okay, there are people out there who suck at doing it, fair enough, but you're not gonna find that many practicing swordsmiths who do it poorly just because there's no fucking market for shitty swords that aren't mass manufactured in, like, steel presses and sold to Bud K catalogs. I bet that was pretty cool, though, Stila. I love metalsmithing. I'm not great at it. I've done some of it. Those of you who have seen my SCA armor that I've posted a number of times, I made all that, including the green great helm that I wore. I am pretty sure Bud K is still around. That or they got subsumed into, like, Rocky Mountain Knife Works, or whatever. I bet that was neat, though, Stila. You'll still find people who are like, what are you playing, Pretzel? What is this garbage? Don't play it again. You'll still find people who are like, oh my god, the Japanese with their forging of the katana, the dragon katana, folded 1,000 times so that it could slice through solid steel with a... That's all bullshit. That's all bullshit. I'm not saying Japanese swords aren't fucking cool, and I'm not saying they didn't make some really good ones, and I'm not saying that folded steel isn't a thing, because it absolutely is, but there was this weird... weeby obsession that came up in the 2000s with people building Japanese armor and weapons into this mythical item, and it's like, they didn't have much good steel. They made a lot of their armor out of wood. They needed steel for other things for the most part, and a lot of the metal that they had was particularly weak, so they had to forge it over and over and over again to make it particularly... Was that in the 90s, Roland? Jesus, am I that old? It persisted into the 2000s anyway. So, you know, Thunderhead coming along to dispel your fantasies. Let me hit the biggest two. German tanks weren't that good, and Japanese swords also weren't that good. They were good. They were good. But Europeans had it easy. They had access to much greater quantities of much better metal. Yeah, anime is definitely to blame. It's also the practice of using heated clay to temper the blade and strengthen the metal. Yeah, that's the thing, though. They had... Again, it's not that they didn't make good swords. It's that they had to pioneer and create incredibly intense, labor-intensive, grueling processes for treating their weapons because their steel kind of sucked, and they didn't have as much of it. But, you know, some of the most interesting practices arise from that. They were also fighting different sorts of armor. Oh, they did, Waffles. They absolutely did. Have you seen the... What's the name of the sword? Oh, what's the name of the sword? It has the smith's name, or I don't know if it's the smith's name. I think nobody knows exactly what it is. It has a word pounded into the blade. And it was done in a brass inlay, so you would have carved that out of the blade and then hammered brass down into it and then polished it down. And it's a famous sword, and nobody's really sure who made it, but it's just this amazing... The Ulfbert sword? I think, yeah, that might be it. I can't remember the name that's in it, but it could be Ulfbert. Either way, it's one of those blades where when they get, like, down into the cross-section of it, they're like, this thing was, like they took steel, pounded flat, twisted it together, pounded it flat again, laid in more, twisted it together, pounded it flat, like just kept doing this over and over and over again, and it is an amazing piece of steel. An absolutely incredible piece of steel that just looking at it tells you how much labor went into it. Yeah, that's probably the one I'm thinking of. Because it is a Norse-styled short sword with the tapered tip, but without the little swell in it that you would have found in Celtic blades. Really, really nice work though, Vergata. I'm sorry, we got off on a conversation talking about steel and swords and bullshit like that. Yeah, that's definitely the one then, Roland, because it's one of those where, like, historically people ask, like, who the fuck was Ulfbert? Was this the name of the man who made it? Was it a name that he gave to his blades? Like, I'm still looking at the models, Vergaderung, and they're gorgeous. I wanted to get a closer look at the OSL that you did on this claw here. It's really visible when you look at the other cataphrons and then at some of the steelwork that you have on the top across the shoulders. As you can see, the yellow just barely reflecting against these inside edges and then in here against the foot. That's actually really nicely done. I think the weakest part of this OSL, Vergaderung, if you're looking for critique, the weakest part of this OSL is the source itself. It reads kind of just as yellow as opposed to glowing, and I think that you might just need more heavy shading, particularly on the outside here of the cage that goes around the light, because the light's shining out and you'd wind up with a shadow on the outside. I think darkening this would increase how it reads as a glow. But other than that, holy crap, it looks gorgeous. I love the green eye lenses on these guys too. It's this wonderful and very welcome splash of green. Oh my god, and then we got a sandwich. Wait, who's this from? This is Roland, and this is his fucking meat bomb. Maybe a hair more white at the brightest / centermost point. I would probably do both. I would probably intensify the glow at the center point, and then add in the shadow on the surfaces facing away from the glow, just to emphasize the glow. It looks really good right now, but a little more emphasis would just help the whole thing read, you know? Waffles, are you talking about Gladius? And the fact that the word translates into penis? Because it does. In fairness, I mean, like, the connection is obvious. In the same way that gladiator can be translated into, like, coxman. It makes a certain sort of sense when you think about it. Steak bomb. This looks fucking delicious. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, you meant the Ulfbert sword? And to be fair, like I'm saying, Gladius can literally be translated into just penis. That is what I wield. Which, it makes a certain sort of sense. The symbolism is there, you know, masculinity. And you take this and you thrust it into the sheath of the other person, and in a way you know what, let's stop this conversation. This isn't going anywhere good. Uwaini, why do you gotta do this to me? Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the stream, welcome to the Storm Chasers. You know what I'm talking about, though. Full pound of meat. You better believe I would pound that pound of meat. God damn. Roland, okay, do me a favor, and would you ping me on Discord with what exactly goes into that sandwich? Because I am going to attempt to recreate that. That looks like a fucking delicious sandwich. Here we have from our very own Techno Sugar Creations a couple of art pieces I finished on stream earlier. A colored pencil commission for a friend, as well as a warm-up alcohol marker drawing of a Mobian-style Raymond from Animal Crossing. I haven't played Animal Crossing since the first one came out. I know it just became really popular with a re-release, but I haven't touched it. Or not a re-release, it's a I guess it's a sequel? The latest version. Oh, Sumatha, like, you don't even have to have a feeling, like, there are objectively, historically provable examples of that. I think people overestimate how classy people in the past were. We have to understand that we live in a world where for a period of no less than, and I want you to contemplate this, I want you to really think about this, okay, and many of you already know this because I've said this before. There was a period of almost 300 years. 300 years in which, and I'm not even going to talk about cod pieces because that's a whole other thing. 300 years where it was considered in style and fashionable for wealthy landed nobles, the important, educated men who could afford nice clothing, who went to banquets, who went to the courts of their fellow feudal noblemen, to wear on the front of their belt, over their junk, a dagger known as a Bollock dagger, which means exactly what you think it means. It is shaped, like there's a blade. You can type it in. Go to Google and type in Bollock dagger and take a look at what these are. The blade is the shaft, and there are a pair of testicles on top of the blade, and then you grip it behind the testes. It's a serious thing. And it wasn't a joke. These were serious men who were like, I'm gonna wear a wooden pair of nuts and a blade, dick. 300 years. Those are many of our ancestors. And then you go back further, and the Romans drew dicks on literally everything. Literally everything. They thought it was funny, too. You can find so many historical examples of Romans who drew, like, a dick with some legs, and then next to it it'll say, like, haha, look, a dick with legs. It's always been funny. Fashion goes in circles. Yeah, the Bollock dagger might be coming back. I've got a few of them. I've got a few. When it does come back, I'll be set. I did that in the SCA. Other people didn't find it as fashionable as I did, but I was playing a 14th century noble in the SCA, and I wore a Bollock dagger right on the front of my pants. I don't know if that's something I should actually broadcast. I don't know if that's something I should be proud of. It was historically accurate, for God's sake. Hamburg Tech, thank you for the reminder. Oh, lordy lord. Yes, Stila, that is the ancient fart scrolls. I do, yeah, no Kursala, I've got it in the other room. Have you guys seen the Japanese ancient fart scrolls? It's funny you bring up Blackadder. Blackadder hasn't been mentioned in my house for at least the last 2 years, and then just the other day. You know what? Hang on a second. Just hang on a second. I'm pretty sure I know where it is. Give me a second. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint, but I made a mistake. I knew where my Skeen Doob was, which is a traditional Scottish dagger. I know where the Bollock dagger is, but it is in a plastic bin out in my workshop. I just realized it's out there with my braised chausses, tights, and garters, which is where it belongs, because that's what you would wear it with. I was thinking of this one, which is less interesting. It's cool, it's got the Scottish thistle on it and everything, and it's a neat little blade with its own story. But it's... Yeah, no, this is one of the super cheap ones, Kursala. I got this one just because I was wearing it around. I've got a nicer one somewhere. Yeah, I'll dig it out and I'll take some pictures. I will share it with you guys. It can. You can balance it on the end, Waffles. I should probably go ahead and look at this amazing piece of art. That's... What? Stila, are you having a bit of a Freudian moment over there? Sometimes a dagger's just a dagger, okay? Bridget Wolf, really, really nice work on this, by the way. I like the lighting on this. the very particular lighting. The direction is very clear. And done in pencil, it has such a wonderful texture to it, doesn't it? Nicely done. And the proportions are all really, really on point. I particularly like the leg going behind the other one. I know that this sort of effect can be tricky without kind of losing the proportions on the limb going behind the other. Well done. It's fantastic. And then, of course, this next one is a Mobian-style Raymond from Animal Crossing, pushing his glasses up his nose as is good and proper. Everybody got into the new Animal Crossing, and I feel like maybe I should. I don't know. I don't own a Switch. I will never own a Switch. I get left out of so many gaming revolutions, so many gaming cultural touchstones. How tragic. Lovely work, though. And this is, again, by by Techno Sugar Creations right here in chat. Guys, if you enjoy this art style, and I really do myself, make sure you go give her a follow. She'll do this work live right in front of you. Here we have from Avash. Ooh, looks like we're getting some of them snazzy, new... These are new, right? You'll have to forgive me, I don't keep up on what's released for Age of Sigmar, so I don't necessarily recognize new from old models, but I know that they recently released a bunch of new Stormcast, and I think that this is a new one because the proportions are... Have you guys noticed this? The proportions are different on the new Stormcast. They're less absurdly heroic scaled and a little bit more realistic. They're still over the top. They're still giant. But their proportions are less nonsensical. It looks like their shoulders got toned down. Maybe a little bit. Nice work on this one. Really, really like this kind of rusty orange that we have for the tabard hanging down here. Good work on the gold. I love the blue blade. Yeah, definitely improve the proportions. I like how this guy is reaching across to draw his dagger. Good choices on the colors. The blue, the orange with the gold. This all works really, really well. The cool colors serve to kind of balance the incredible amounts of warmth that you wind up with on these figures. You see the more down-to-earth one with the salad? Yes, I did see that one for Godarung, and it's a great look. That took me a minute, because I was like, that's not a Stormcast with a salad on it. I knew that it would look different than that, and that's what prompted me to look at the new box set and realize that they changed the proportions of the Stormcast, and I think that they look much better than they used to, in my opinion. Really nice work on this, Avash. You got that whole new box, did you? I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with the rest of the set, then. Very, very nice work. Again, great color choices, and really fairly smooth work. On the orange in particular. I like the really, really deep shadows you have on the folds here, but again, Games Workshop makes such painter-friendly figures. Such painter-friendly figures. Ended up getting 2 halves. Ah, so double the force. I gotcha. And then here we have from Shock21. Uh-oh. Oh, and we were just talking about Blackadder, weren't we? And there's Hugh Laurie, what do you know? Chips, french fries, crisps, chips, chocolate globber knots, candy bars, motorized rolling hams, Mary Fizzle bombs. Some of these I don't know if they're real. Meat water, gravy. Beef Wellington ensemble with lettuce. Let's see here. Twisting plank handles, doorknobs. A bready stack, a sandwich. Hoity-toity tippy-typers, keyboards. Nutty gum and flute spleggings, peanut butter and jelly. An upsy stairsy, the escalator. Forcey fun to... Oh, God. So for the love of God, people. Knittity wittity sheepity slippity sheepity sleepity. That's a sweater. A rickety pop. No, I call it that. Choco chip bicky wacky. PP friction pleasure. That's more German. I feel like that's more German than British. It would be said differently, but ultimately the translation would be PP friction pleasure. Pip pop gollywalk. A screwdriver. Rudy Tooty point and shooty. A gun. That's Texan. That's not British, that's Texan. Ceiling bright, a light bulb. A blimpy bounce ball. Blimpy bounce bounce. Oh, yes, I see. Slippery, dippery, long mover. and cobblestone clippity-clops. English did evolve from German. Well, to be fair, it's a bit more complex than that, Kursala, but perhaps only a bit. But that will bring us to the end of the Storm Report for tonight, and thus, as is tradition and in accordance with the prophecy, the end of tonight's stream. Not entirely wrong, but man, there's so much crossbreeding in those languages. They all kind of came from one another and continue to, for that matter. My personal favorite thing about the German language is how they describe most animals in terms of what it is relative to a pig. That always tickles me. That always tickles me. Let's find out who we are rating tonight, folks. Who is doing what? Who shows up here? Holly Monster's doing some painting. Alara Kerensky's playing some Star Wars Squadrons. Hang on a second. Let me have a look at the broader list, because it never tells me who all is on in the small list. Commander Mittens, Steep T, Thunderdome Drew is... Oh, we got some good painters. Microtonal Matt. Black Diamond Relic Knights. Late Night Painter is going. Keyline Prime just got... Ooh, we got some choices today. We got some good choices today. I don't see Zambies on. Alright. Fucking everybody's painting Warhammer. Everybody's painting Warhammer. My god. What's Steep T doing? He's giving me a network error. That's what he's doing. Let's see. Finishing the Fabulous Marine and working on a dragon. What's Commander Mittens doing? Working on some orcs. Thunderdome Drew is doing some airbrushing. Microtonal Matt is working on... Let me see. Black Diamond Relic Knights. Oh, these are interesting. These are very interesting. Microtonal Matt is a fairly new streamer. I think we're going to raid him. He's doing some very interesting work over here on a figure that I don't strictly recognize. That should be a lot of fun. And it looks like he's just getting started, so let's get that going. Guys, I know a lot of you are probably about to turn in for the night, but please do me a favor. Stick around for just a few minutes. Check out Microtonal Matt's stream. And, give him a follow if you like what you see, which I think you will. We will be back Thursday the 15th. We're going to be starting on some 3D design for an upcoming mech release. I'm going to be working on what is going to be my first multi-part multi-pose figure. So it's going to be kind of feeling out a lot of techniques and sort of making it up as we go. So feel free to come sculpt along and learn along with me. Sunday and Tuesday. So I have no stream there. That's a bit of a maybe, and that is contingent on the fact that Hethrir, who many of you know from here in chat, is going to be visiting me, and we're going to be playing some games. So there might not be a stream on Sunday, but there might be. I will let you guys know more on Thursday. Almost certainly there won't be on Tuesday, but we will be back the Thursday after that. No problem. And if nothing else, I'll have some good action shots and battle reports for you folks, because we're going to play some Conquest and some Warcaster in my game room. I want to give a huge thank you, oh my god, to everybody who came out tonight, everybody who contributed to the Storm Report. It is always fantastic to see your work, and thank you for participating. And as always, a huge thank you to my mod team. None of this would be possible without you, and a special one to you, Steela. Thanks for showing up. I'm gonna go get something to eat. Have fun at Microtonal Mats. I will see you next time. Until then, keep on painting.